C. Brought to you by Dodge Trucks, reinventing the truck.
The Ottawa Rough Riders preparing to kick off to the Hamilton Ticats. Mike Lezecki, who will handle the dual role of punting and place kicking for Ottawa, will be kicking to Winfield and Burbage. Lezecki played last week in the final regular season game. Ron Smeltzer in that contest had him handling the punting chores only, with Paul McCallum looking after the place kicking. But he wanted one man to do both jobs this week. John Gregory has no concerns with his kicking game. The reliable Paul Osbaldiston will handle both jobs for Hamilton. A short kickoff taken by Wilkerson, and he's downed immediately. Anthony Drawhorn was there to make the tackle. A 37-yard kickoff, no return.
A fired-up Ottawa specialty team coming down fired up, making the big hit. Drawhorn. Hamilton, though, with decent field position to start the game.
Todd Dillon suffered the elbow injury last week, late in the game. He is wearing a protective elbow pad. It's a hockey elbow pad. He has been wearing it in practice all week, and he said it does not at all hamper his throwing. 1st and 10 from the 38. Dillon rolling out to his left. He's throwing deep for Yock. He's got it.
Once again, how Hamilton started out last week's game, going to Joey Yock right out of the backfield. Here again, once with the big play, Dillon getting outside of the contain, finding Yock streaking down the sideline. Big play to start the game.
With the import, Rob Wallow on the offensive line, Bruce Perkins is dropped from the running back position, and the Canadian, Dave Donnell, moves into the running back spot. Joey Yock will be backed up by Nick Mazzoli, who returns to the lineup after an injury. We'll talk more about the adjustments along the offensive line later in the game. A 42-yard gain. It's 1st and 10. Sideline pattern over the head of Burbage. It will be 2nd and 10.
A big key is going to be Wallow at right tackle, how he handles this front right here with Robinson, Kokla, and Kropke. But the linebacking core, these guys really come after you with the blitz. Stuman, Henry Bonner. Henry, the newcomer last week, had an outstanding first game in the CFL. You get Gordon Young, who is back in the lineup along with Trudell and Burke, the rookie, on the corner.
2nd and 10, the ball at the 30-yard line. Yock makes the catch, 1st down at the 11-yard line. He made the catch in front of Patrick Burke, and Joey Yock is a pumped-up football player today at Ivor Wynne.
He made it in front of Burke, but they had a combo, cover 4 on, where he had a one-on-one coverage, as you'll see him here, working against Drawhorn. Drawhorn releases him to Burke. He finds that soft spot in the zone. He picks up 15 yards on the play, down to the 11. Once again, Hamilton in fine field position in the red zone, Don.
Yock was pumped up all week in practice and getting ready for this game against Ottawa. Dillon throws coming out of the backfield is Lee Knight. Touchdown!
Todd Dillon, feeling no effects from last week's outing. He is working magnificently in the pocket. His offensive line is holding together well at this point in the game. He catches Lee Knight circling out of the backfield, but more important, he got a great downfield block from Earl Winfield.
Todd Dillon, very impressive in the opening possession by the Hamilton Tiger Cats, moving them downfield and hitting Lee Knight with an 11-yard touchdown pass. But it was 42 yards on the first play to Joey Yock, and then 19 yards to Yock that set up the Hamilton touchdown. Paul Osbaldiston adds the point after. So very quickly, the Hamilton Ticats, with Lee Knight scoring, strike in this Eastern semifinal.
Well, a big play early by the Ticats. They march down the field after that opening kickoff. You see Dillon sitting in the pocket right here, moving back, rolling to his right. He gets Knight circling out of the backfield. No one covering him in the flat. But watch Earl Winfield. When you see him with the great block right at the 5-yard line, you see another low angle here coming right into your living room. You'll see Knight as he circled out of the backfield. Great concentration on the football. He gets squared upfield. Winfield with the great comeback block, and he tiptoes into the end zone for the first major of the afternoon for the Ticats.
Lee Knight.
How Ottawa will handle this. Last week they were down by 16 points in the first half. They were able to fight back, but down once again by 7 to start this game with less than 3 minutes played already.
Paul Osbaldiston's kickoff is going to bounce out of bounds. Well, no, it stays inbounds. It looked as though it was going to bounce out, and then Darren Joseph was able to play it on the sidelines. It was hooking and looked as though it was going to go out of the field of play. An 8-yard return for Darren Joseph.
Well, Don, the big story in Hamilton all week, of course, was Todd Dillon's elbow.
My wife, I love you, Lisa.
Another guy saving the cost of a phone call. Can you believe it? In any case, Todd Dillon's elbow we're talking about. He wore an elbow pad in today's game to protect the bruise he got in the fourth quarter last week. The Ticats insisted all week the elbow would be fine, the range of motion fine. Obviously, Dillon just answered any questions about his range of motion. He's also highly accessorized today, Don, because he's wearing contact lenses for the first time in his CFL career, and I'd say his vision was 20/20 on the first drive, wouldn't you?
Well, I think when you look at him with that elbow injury after last week's game, when you get to a point in a season like this, the whole season is starting over. You throw out what happened in the first 18 games, the adrenaline is pumping. Todd Dillon knows that everything is on the line. He's been in this position last year at the same time. He wants to play.
Hamilton was offside on the kickoff, so Osbaldiston lines up this time at the 30-yard line. And again, Joseph waits for it. He mishandles it. Drawhorn picks it up. And Drawhorn gets it back to the 35. An 18-yard return. Paul Bushy was downfield to make the tackle.
That's been a sore spot with Ottawa all year, their specialty team play. They really haven't had a key guy that they can count on the returns, and he leaves them with decent field position at the 35, but it's been a sore spot for him down.
A career season for Tom Burgess, going over 5,000 yards for the first time in his career. He had 4 touchdown passes last week to hit a career high of 30. Any Ottawa success will depend on how number 13 performs this afternoon. Burgess rolls out, dumps it off to the sideline. Brock Climie could not hang on. Climie was open, but he couldn't squeeze the throw. This is the way the Rough Riders line up offensively. Returning to the receiving corps this week is Stephan Jones. He replaces Walter Stanley. And along the offensive line, Bruce Beaton takes over from Mike Graybill. It'll be interesting how they handle third down punts and place kicks. Pat Mann, a newcomer, moving into the center position and looking after those third down snaps.
And everyone knows in the CFL, the specialty teams is 1/3 of the football game.
Draw play with Barnes, and Barnes gets away from O'Shea. He'll get a first down. Loses the football, and Ottawa managed to recover. Stephan Jones was over there to scoop it up.
The big hit from behind by Bates, the defensive end, following on the play. An inside shovel pass by Burgess. A good play call to slow down that rush of the Ticats. Bates able to fold back underneath. As you look right here, Burgess stepping back. Barnes in the left. Shovels it right through the front as he steps up. He gets around Mike O'Shea, the rookie linebacker. Dawson has great field position right there on it, but Bates with the big hit from behind.
First and 10. The ball is at the 50-yard line. Handoff to Barnes, and he's caught from behind by Jeff Fields.
The big man up front, 300-plus pounds, Jeff Fields, doing a fine job getting across, dropping Barnes in the backfield for a short loss on the play of about 1.5 yards, but a big play by the Ticat defense early. You see him getting behind the counter play right there where Beaton is trying to get around, got in his hip pocket, and dropped Barnes.
10:41 remaining in the opening quarter. Second and 11. Burgess setting up the screen with Barnes. He's jarred loose from the football and put it back and recovered. Romel Andrews made the hit. Tim Jackson picked up the loose ball, and the Ticats have it 1st and 10 at midfield.
A big play once again by the Ticat defensive front. We saw Bates the play prior, jarring the ball loose from Barnes. This time we get Romel Andrews, who missed last week's ball game and who is back and already contributing for this Ticat defense. You look here as Burgess is dropping back. He has Barnes in the short release zone. He releases the ball. He's forced back inside by Wright, but Andrews with that stripping, bringing that arm around from behind, jars him loose. The ball's at midfield for the Ticats.
Handoff inside to David Donnell, and he'll be very close, and as a matter of fact, should have a first down, diving through to the 45. Maurice Henry made the tackle.
Running that inside counter trap, pulling the backside of the offensive line, the right side of it, getting both players around, Wallow and Sanderson. As Donnell follows up in the gap, you see Wallow right here kicking up on Bonner, the linebacker. Donnell, reading his blockers perfectly, picks up 10 yards on the run.
Donnell is another Burlington Braves junior product who has made a big contribution to the Ticats. Todd Dillon throws deep, and it's well over the head of Ken Abraire. Abraire got tangled up with a couple of defensive backs and never could get into his pattern.
Well, Dillon has to feel very fortunate that that one wasn't picked off. There was 3 defensive backs in the coverage, and he threw that one up. But fortunately, it went awry, and he's going to get a chance to come back on second down with possession of the football.
John Gregory was bemoaning the passing attack of the Ticats, and he felt that was a major problem they had all season. He said, you just don't win in this league when you only complete 40% of your throws.
And they became a one-dimensional passing team, Don, only throwing to the right side of their offense.
Todd Dillon is going to try and run, but he is brought down right at the line of scrimmage at the 45 by LeBrant Robinson and Greg Stuman.
Good pressure up front by that Ottawa Rough Rider defensive front. You get the blitzing of the linebacker Stuman. Dillon's back in his pocket. His offensive line is trying to keep him off, but the pocket breaks down. You see Robinson and Stuman right there, along with some help from Culpler, getting the big sack on the play.
Initially, Dillon was looking downfield for Earl Winfield, but he was well covered by Charles Gordon.
They're trying a 52-yard field goal here, Don. Osbaldison's longest on the year is only 51, so he could be stretching his limits. He missed the 51-yarder last week.
He has not had much success this year from outside the 40-yard line. This kick is wide. He had the length, but it's wide. Drawhorn brings it out of the end zone and gets to about the 11-yard line. And that's where Ottawa will scrimmage 1st and 10 when we return.
Here's a frightening number for the Ottawa offensive line, 77, as in sacks surrendered, second only to Toronto, as head coach Ron says it's hard for the quarterback to throw the ball when he's worried about getting hit in the teeth. And today with Mike Graybill out with a broken wrist, Tom Burgess may have even more to worry about. Ticats, Don, did put some pressure on the first Ottawa possession. Let's see what happens here.
Well, there is some inexperience on the offensive line. And that can cause some problems. Burgess on first down. Brings it out to Barnes, and Barnes gets up to the 18-yard line. Stopped there by Bobby Dawson.
Very important that right here, Ottawa is able to gain some momentum deep in the end zone. Drawhorn made a very poor decision in returning that missed field goal out of the end zone. If you see right here, you got Burgess circling out of the backfield with Barnes out in the flat, but watch Bobby Dawson comes up here and lays a crushing blow on Barnes. There's a bunch of punishing tacklers out here this afternoon. This game means everything, and you're going to see a lot of vicious hitting like that.
Second and 2 for Ottawa. The short yardage offense is in there, and Barnes, the ball carrier, was straightened up by Tim Cofield. It will depend on the placement of the football as to whether or not he has a first down.
A tremendous job done up front by Tim Cofield. He didn't make the hit, but watch him right here just drive the offensive lineman back into the hole right here. You get Kropke, who came in as a tight end on the play, but bam, he meets Barnes right in the hole, stops him at the line of scrimmage short of the first down. They have to gamble on third down here now.
A third down gamble for the Ottawa Rough Riders. Third and less than a yard. Burgess drives straight ahead, still trying to struggle for additional yardage, and the indication from referee Dave Ewell is that it is an Ottawa first down.
Well, you can see the emotion in the plays, especially on these short yardage plays. The players are getting in there, being a little extra aggressive, and that's what you like this time of the year with football. You know, it's for all the money right now, and they're really going for it.
Gary Durchik in the spotting box,
Along with Joe
Moss on the far side of the picture. First and 10 from the 20-yard line. Fake inside to Barnes. Burgess trying to dump it off, incomplete. He was looking for Stephan Jones, and Jones is complaining that he was interfered with by Corus Irvin.
But a great coverage by Irvin. That ball really was uncatchable, and a great no call by the officials letting that one go. As you see right here with the play fake, trying to hold that rush, Cofield was not fooled as he forced Burgess up in the pocket. At the last moment, he tries to get the ball to Stephan Jones. As you see him here working on Corus Irvin's, might have been a little holding there that was missed by the officials. I mean, he's right inside that number 4 on his jersey.
6:11 remaining in the opening quarter. Burgess goes to the sidelines, and James Ellingson is wrestled down short of a first down by Corus Irvin.
Excellent coverage by Corus Irvin, closing on James Ellingson. You always wonder why in a 3rd and long situation that receivers only go 6 yards, and you know you need 10 to pick up the first down.
Mike Lezecki had not been playing football this year when the Ottawa Rough Riders were in Edmonton late in the season. Larry Mueller, the son-in-law of Edmonton coach Ron Lancaster, suggested to Ron Smeltzer that Mike Lezecki was available back home in Regina. So Smeltzer was able to give Lezecki a call, and the end result is that Lezecki is now handling both the place kicking and punting chores for the Ottawa Rough Riders. An end-over-end kick that bounces to Earl Winfield. And Winfield is met head-on by Bertman Cummings and stopped at the 44-yard line. 5:32 is the time left in the opening quarter.
Well, we got a shot here of Pat Mann, the center for the Ottawa Rough Rider, who this afternoon is filling in as the long snapper on all kicking situations. You see him right here doing a fine job, a tight spiral, coming back to Mike Lezecki. He's able to get off his punt before the pressure gets there, and that's all you can ask from any snapper, and Mann's doing a fine job.
I guess the big test for the University of Western Ontario product will come in a field goal situation where it takes coordination between the snapper, the holder, and the kicker.
And you got that nose guard generally sitting right on top of you.
Inside handoff to Dave Donnell, and Donnell tries to spin for additional yards, and he still struggles, but is stopped after a pickup of about 3. Stuman is there to finally wrestle him down. We saw Dave Donnell really for the first time on September 11th when he took over for Perkins against the BC Lions and ran for 107 yards.
Well, you see him here trying to run off tackle. The hole was filled. Stuman holding the corner against Waller, the offensive tackle, doing a fine job from his outside linebacker position.
2nd and 7, the pass to Kenneth Ware for a Hamilton first down.
Now, this is where Dillon had most of his success last week on, throwing to his inside slot backs, Abraire along with Yacht. This time, Abraire was lined up in the right slot. Dillon with his half roll getting behind Donnell as running back. An open zone right there in front of the coverage. Stuman late getting over, picking up another first down, moving the ball down the field for the Ticats.
Dillon has looked sharp in the opening quarter here at Ivor Wynn. Earl Winfield makes the catch. Winfield initially looked as though he was going to very casually step out of bounds, and he fooled the defensive back in the process and was able to pick up about 6 more.
Well, Ricky Royal was the defensive back that was caught one-on-one in the flat with Winfield. Make that Charles Gordon, who was caught. And you see Winfield with the great inside move. That's what makes him so dangerous. He doesn't look to step out of bounds, but he's always fighting for that additional yardage.
Hand off to Dave Donnell. He fumbles the football, and the Ottawa Rough Riders have got it. So with 3:52 remaining in the opening quarter, John Gregory's team gives up the ball.
CBC Sports, home of Grey Cup 93.
Back at Ivor Wynn Stadium, the Ottawa offense on the field after the fumble recovery and look for the Riders to go deep to Stephan Jones on this series. Yesterday, Ron Smeltzer said a part of their game plan was to go deep to Jones early in the game to get him into the contest. They haven't done it so far, so look for Burgess maybe to throw one to him on this series, Don, but of course, if he doesn't do it, forget I ever said this.
Jones was the number 2 receiver with the Ottawa Rough Riders. Sean Daniels, the ball carrier, 2 yards behind Jock Climie. Had he not missed last week's final regular season game, Jones may have wound up as the leading Ottawa receiver. But one of the problems the Rough Riders have with Stephan Jones, they have to try and get him into a ball game early, or he really doesn't play as well as he is capable of.
Well, you know, he's one of those finicky receivers that he wants to get the ball early, otherwise he doesn't feel that he's important. And, you know, it's to their advantage to get him a couple of passes early in the game, and that way he'll always be alert as the contest continues on.
2nd and 6, and maybe Burgess here will look in the direction of Stephan Jones. Out of the backfield, Sean Daniels will get a first down.
Excellent read by Tommy Burgess, that time not being rushed. As you see him dropping back in the pocket, he checked to his primary receiver. He could not find him, and he had enough time to go out to his secondary. You see Sean Daniels going out in the flat. Bobby Dawson coming up with another crushing and punishing hit. He is a very physical halfback, and John Gregory felt very fortunate to have him back in this game after missing 6 games in succession.
1st and 10 from the 48. The handoff to Barnes, and he gets to the 50-yard line. He's piled up by the left side of the Hamilton defensive unit, led by Jeff Fields.
Well, you know, this Hamilton defensive front knows that they have to slow down the run of the Ottawa Rough Riders. Since Reggie Barnes has come back into the lineup, they've had a reemergence of their running game. But Hamilton knows that they have to force Tommy Burgess back in the pocket and then out of the pocket and hopefully get some coverage picks or sacks on him this afternoon.
Quite a contrast in weather conditions this year compared to last year when snow was falling at Ivor Wynne Stadium as the Ticats won it on a 46-yard field goal by Paul Osbaldiston with 11 seconds remaining. Jock Climie takes the pass to the 40-yard line, stopped there by Tim Jackson.
Well, Don, I put in a request that I didn't want any of the white stuff on the ground this afternoon. You know, coming from down south, it's not to my liking. But Jock Climie getting in the scene. Tommy Burgess, look at his offensive line, beaten right here, working one-on-one on Bates. You see Climie getting in the scene in front of Wilkerson and Jackson. And you'll see Cofield right here working from his left end on Lammy, getting him off balance, along with Andrews getting Burgess to the ground right after the completion, though.
I know one thing, James. I'm not a geography major, but Reno isn't considered down south.
It's north of, where we at, Alaska up here?
Reggie Barnes, the ball carrier, and he is stopped at the 38-yard line by O'Shea and Jackson.
But the defensive front right here is bending a little bit when you look at Ottawa marching a drive down the field, and they need this. They need to control the football, keep their defense off the field, but more important, Tommy Burgess needs to come up with some significant points out of this drive, not become impatient. 35
seconds remaining in the opening quarter. Burgess under pressure, and he overthrows Jock Climie. I think he was simply throwing that one away, as he had 2 people in his face, including a blitzing halfback, Tim Jackson.
You had Jackson along with Bates coming from the right end position, the weak end, but now you bring Lazecki in for a field goal attempt, and you're really stretching his limits right here. I was watching him in the warm-ups. He hooked a lot of balls to his left, almost like your golf swing, Don, always hooking.
No, hooking isn't my problem. I wish it was a hook that it was a problem rather than a slice. But Lazecki is attempting a field goal in a CFL game for the first time ever. And this will be a 45-yard try. And he hooked it. Earl Winfield takes it in the end zone. And Winfield goes down right at the 5-yard line with 3 seconds remaining in the quarter.
Well, you know, he is true to form as far as his warm-ups. I thought he might have made some adjustments, and he's still, you know, overhooked, driving into that football and pulling it back towards him. But once again, they keep Hamilton pinned down in poor field position. But it was so important that Ottawa was to come out of that drive with some points, and they came up dry. You look at Lazecki right here. Watch him as he drives through this ball. He just pulls it. He keeps the head down, but he pulls it. You got to push it out just a little bit, but he keeps them pinned down at the 5-yard line. The defense needs to come up with some big plays here and force them into a punting situation.
This should be the final play of the opening quarter. We have not seen a penalty flag in the first 15 minutes of this football game, which is something of a rarity. Inside for Kenneth Ware. He's got a first down out to the 17. He made the catch in front of Brett Young. Todd Dillon did a fine job of reading that play, and he threw the hot to Kenneth Ware on the final play of the opening quarter with the Ticats in front by a converted touchdown. Kenneth Ware with a 12-yard gain on the final play of the opening quarter, taking the ball out to the 17-yard line.
Todd Dillon doing a fine job finding if Ware going to come inside. He's recognizing Young's going to stay outside on the coverage. Dillon's going to come right here, fired into that quick slant, but he recognized that there was no inside protection there. Ware comes free, perfect slant route, picks up a first down on first down.
Todd Dillon said he had some butterflies last week in his return to the CFL and the Ticats, but he felt very comfortable preparing for this week's game, and he has looked good so far in the opening half. First and 10, and Bushy takes it out to the 25-yard line.
Those butterflies might have been vultures, Don. I mean, when you come in and you haven't played in a while, you can feel everything moving around, and he was antsy, but he had a fine outing.
Statistically, the edge for the Ticats, 123 net yards to 73 for Ottawa, even though Ottawa had the ball longer than the Ticats in the opening quarter. It's a 7-0 game favor of Hamilton.
But a lot of that was attributed to Joey Yap, being able to find those soft spots in that Ottawa secondary, having the big first quarter.
Second and short, the toss to Bushy, and Bushy dives forward to about the 28-yard line.
You know, not the guy you expect to get the ball on an outside pitch, but Paul Bushy doing a fine job getting his shoulders turned upfield. Dillon getting the ball. He's reading his blockers. You see Bushy as the off-back, following Donnell up in the hole, who does a fine job of getting up there. Bushy, but he plants that foot, gets turned up, picks up the 3 yards needed for the first down.
As I mentioned earlier, with Perkins out of the lineup, Hamilton going with a Canadian backfield in the blocking back, Bushy, and the running back, Dave Donnell, who has the football. Donnell has the ability to make people miss, and he picks up another Hamilton first down.
What you get with Donnell being in the backfield is that you get that scatter back. If we see Donnell right here, sets up off tackle, if we can freeze it right here, where you see Donnell forces Manley here to miss. He gets outside, he freezes him in his tracks, gets outside, he turns up. Burbage doing a fine job of blocking downfield, and Donnell picks up another first down.
First and 10, the ball is at the 39. Sideline pattern intended for Burbage, incomplete.
Well, Patrick Burke, you see here, the rookie cornerback, he was really fired up last week that he didn't get the Eastern nominee as the rookie nominee for the CFL, and he had a point to prove, and he's very physical. And when you can see a player working one-on-one on that island out there, whether he's Canadian or American, you know that he's one tremendous athlete, and that's what you have in Patrick Burke. You see Dillon right here delivering the pass out to Burbage, but a great break by Burke just at the last moment to knock it away.
Second and 10 from the 39. Dillon's pass to Winfield, and Winfield makes the catch at the 45, but he's a good 4 yards shy of a first down, so the Ticats will be sending out the punting unit.
Well, Winfield was working on Gordon, and once again, we see a receiver running a short route when you need 10 yards running a 5-yard route. Gordon let him have the inside position, but he was right on top of him to bring him down. You see Winfield working on the quick slant inside. You see Gordon, as Winfield fumbles the ball, able to recover and drop him only after a 5-yard gain.
18 1,000-yard receivers this year in the CFL. Winfield was Hamilton's lone 1,000-yard man. Osbaldiston with lots of time for this third down kick. Walker takes it at the 24, and Walker is downed at the 28. A 43-yard kick with a 5-yard return.
Dexter Manley's been in for 2 defensive series for Ottawa, and he has been ineffective, and you wonder if it's had anything to do with his week of preparation. He practiced a total of 8 plays. On Monday, he showed up 90 minutes late for a team meeting and was fined. fell asleep in a meeting later in the week, and yesterday he went out to practice in the drizzle with his teammates, then declared he didn't feel well, so he took a sauna and slept in the trainer's room. All said, done, I'd say Dexter's ready, wouldn't you?
Well, it's a very awkward situation for the Ottawa coaching staff. Dexter is only on the roster because of directions from the owners of the Ottawa Rough Riders. And when Dexter goes in, John Kropke, who has been perhaps the best defensive lineman in Ottawa this year, comes out.
A fine young defensive lineman in Kropke, and it's an unfortunate situation for he as well as Librant Robertson. These guys come out and they have to put in a full week of practice, and then when you come to the game, you only get spot duty.
Reggie Barnes with a gain of 6 yards, pushed out of bounds by Gary Wilkerson. 2nd and 4. The toss to Barnes. Barnes cuts back inside and is going to be a yard and a half short of a first down, brought down by Jeff Fields and Terry Wright.
A fine job being done up front by the Hamilton defensive line. When you see the guys flowing down the field, and especially Jeff Fields, big 300-plus pound defensive lineman, getting down, able to drop Barnes before he can get his shoulder squared up and get past the line of scrimmage. You have to be impressed with their mobility this afternoon.
Burbage and Winfield are back for the 3rd down punt by Mike Lezecki. The last time man centered the ball on a field goal attempt, Ramal Andrews drove him back about 5 yards. This time he gets the ball back to Lezecki. A good high kick that Burbage takes back at the 30-yard line. An excellent job of downfield tackling by Dean Noel, limiting the return to a loss of 4, actually.
Well, a reminder, we've got 6 hours of football on semifinal Sunday. As soon as the decision is in this East Division semifinal, and Hamilton will go west to Calgary for the Lions at McMahon Stadium to play the Stampeders in one semifinal. And viewers in Northern Alberta and Saskatchewan will see the Green Riders at Commonwealth Stadium to play the Eskimos. Those games both coming up after the East Division semi here, Don.
Yes, and as Steve Armitage told us at the start of our telecast, Don Matthews will not be behind the Saskatchewan bench. He was taken to hospital overnight with acute stomach pain. It was on the Thanksgiving weekend in Calgary that Matthews underwent an emergency appendectomy. So Steve Barato will be on the bench of the Saskatchewan Roughriders this afternoon with Ray York, who previously handled the team in Matthews' absence upstairs in the spotting box.
An unfortunate situation again for Coach Don Matthews in Saskatchewan, and all our hopes and prayers go out with him that everything will be okay with him and he can be back on the sidelines again very soon.
2nd and 3. Donnell again looking for a first down. He got up very close to the 37. Let's see where they mark it.
He's going to be within a football of the first down. He's going to come up a little short, but it's a situation where Hamilton has to gamble. You don't want to lose that momentum at this point of the game, and right now, if they did, they could possibly let Ottawa back in it.
John Bonk, a former outstanding lineman with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers and a former Shenley Award winner in charge of Hamilton's offensive line. And he was saying he really had his work cut out for him this week, getting ready for today's football game, in that he had to introduce a newcomer, Rob Wallow, and had to move other people around. Dale Sanderson coming back, moving into a guard position. Sanderson normally a center, but Daryl Harley has been playing the center spot, so they decided to move Sanderson to right guard and leave Harley at center.
Well, they figured by moving Sanderson to guard, his knee is not 100%, that he didn't have to worry about the nose guard being right on top of him all game and hindering his mobility.
Todd Dillon on the 3rd down gamble keeps, and the Ticats retain possession with 9:55 remaining in the first half, and Hamilton in front by a score of 7-0.
And that nose guard that they would have been concerned about was Glenn Cochla, as we see that heavy bandage still on his right arm from an altercation that they had in the locker room a couple of weeks ago. He, along with Stewart, they got into a fisticuffs, and it was part of the melee that has been going on in Ottawa for a while. But he is back this week after missing last week's game with 44 stitches in that right arm and hand.
Pressure on Dillon, and Dillon is going to go down. Stuman finishes the job. Stuman actually made the first contact, then with some help from LeBrant Robinson, Stuman was able to get back into the play and drop Dillon for a loss back at the 35-yard line.
Well, just a jailbreak up front. Dillon really didn't have any time. As you said, Stuman came off of his left defensive end position and got some help from Robinson. He got away, but Stuman was able to come back and clean up for his 9th sack of the season. Not 8 on the season, and his first in the playoffs.
2nd and 12. Dillon throws to the sidelines with Earl Winfield wide open for a first down.
Now that's the veteran Earl Winfield that we've become accustomed to. Knowing that you needed 15 yards to pick up a first down, working one-on-one out here on Brett Young. You see him driving me off the ball, breaking out into the flat. All of a sudden, Winfield has that separation. He went 17 yards when he needed 15 and picked up the first down. Great job by the veteran.
3 catches thus far this afternoon. 8:31 remaining in the opening half. Winfield is the man Dillon was looking for, but he couldn't get away from Charles Gordon.
Just a little bit of impatience on Todd Dillon's behalf because he had Winfield breaking clear.
Todd Dillon was telling us, and as Scott referred to the eye problems he has had, he is wearing contacts. When he came back to the Ticats, he had his eyes tested. The team optometrist recommended that he wear contact lenses. He said he was having a problem with depth perception. Didn't realize it earlier in his career.
So are you telling me what you want for Christmas?
I'll borrow yours, James. Angelo Snipes in on Todd Dillon. No problem with depth perception there. He had him in his face right away.
And when you're one of those defensive linemen, you generally know within an area where a quarterback is going to be. But when you watch Angelo Snipes working against Lee Knight, watch the spin move right here as he comes back inside. Todd Dillon is sitting right where he expected him to be at that 7-yard depth, and he just honed in on him.
Osbaldiston again with lots of time and another big kick by the Hamilton punter. Walker gets away from Lee Knight and then goes down at the 33-yard line. An 11-yard run back after a 46-yard kick.
Roger Hennig making the tackle. Joshua is a member of the War Amps Champ program for child amputees. He lost his leg in a boating accident. He visited the Sky Dome to present the Play Safe Award to the Toronto Argonauts and the Hamilton Tiger Cats.
Thanks for the great plaque, Joshua. The CFL is proud to support the Play Safe program.
Hey, Joshua, do you have a message for the kids watching out there?
Whatever game you play, play safe. All right.
The Ticats and Rough Riders have been involved in one-point decisions the last 3 times they have met in the 2 regular season games this year and their semifinal playoff encounter a year ago. So I don't think we should really expect much difference in today's Eastern semifinal.
Well, the way the Ticats started out, it seemed like this one might have been a barn burner in their behalf, coming down, scoring a touchdown on their opening drive of the game. But both defenses have settled in right now and playing outstanding football.
The winner will advance to the Eastern Final next Sunday at Winnipeg Stadium against the first-place Blue Bombers. Burgess is going to try and run. He got away from O'Shea. O'Shea was flattened by a solid block on the far side of the field just when it looked as though he had Burgess in his sights, and Burgess will be close to a first down.
Well, Tommy Burgess, once again, one of the things that have hindered him all year long, if you look at him right here with it in the pocket, he's getting ready to take the snap from center. But his offensive line, you'll get Burgess here, he's going to pull back. His offensive line will make a fine pocket around him. But as he's done all year, he showed impatience. He hasn't trusted the guys in front of him. And as you see him here, he takes off running, but he didn't need to run. You know, he's trying to move on O'Shea. He had an opportunity to find a receiver backside coming open, and he got into a running mode once again.
James Ellingson came back to take O'Shea out of the play, enabling Burgess to pick up 9 2/3 yards. He's about a foot shy of a first down, and the Ottawa Rough Riders send in the short yardage unit with 7:09 remaining in the opening half. 7-0 Hamilton leads.
Can I have my glasses back down since you picked up that 2/3 yards on that?
I'm going to go metric and then really confuse you.
Ooh. There'll be a speak, as you would say.
Hand off to Barnes, and Barnes will get the first down up to the 45-yard line. The initial contact was made by rookie linebacker Michael O'Shea.
Yeah, but you just can't bring Reggie Barnes down with an arm tackle as O'Shea did. You got to learn when you got Reggie Barnes coming up in the hole, you got to put your hat on him, shoulder pads, get him square, because if you stick an arm out, he's going to pick that 2 to 3 yards up on a running play. First downs, you see Hamilton with 11-5 advantage, but even more surprising, there's only been one penalty call this afternoon. The officials are letting them play football.
Burgess out of the shotgun over the middle for James Ellingson. He made a valiant effort to one-hand the football in traffic and paid the price because he took a hit from Gary Wilkerson.
He really paid the price, but Tommy Burgess left that one up too long. Wilkerson was able to come off his primary man and recover against him. You see right here as the ball's in the air, Ellingson has to turn around, and Wilkerson had left Stephan Jones able to come across. Nice recovery by Wilkerson, putting that shoulder in those ribs. Ellingson will remember that one for a few minutes.
Well, this game, as far as Ottawa's passing attack is concerned, very similar to the final regular season meeting. Early in the game, Burgess did not go to his wideouts. He goes and looking for Wayne Walker. No sooner do I say he hasn't thrown to his wideouts than he tries to hit Wayne Walker deep in behind Gary Wilkerson, but he overthrew him.
Well, you know, once again, you spoke about Stephan Jones being left out of the early part of the game, and as you saw it again, 2 plays he went away from Stephan. Stephan was working on the right side of the field one-on-one against Corus Irvins, and Irvins had given him about 10 yards to work with, and if he had looked backside, he could have picked up a first down.
5:49 remaining in the half. Fine kick by Lazecki. Winfield, 3 punt returns for touchdowns this year. He loses the football, but it may not be all that bad for the Ticats, as there appeared to be a no-yards call against Ottawa. Brian Bonner seemed to have encroached upon that 5-yard area.
On Live at the Half today, we'll go live on location, if you will, to Calgary and Edmonton, where the West Division semifinals kick off in about 2 hours. The weather is perfect in Calgary, we're told. The big story in Edmonton, where the Riders play the Eskimos, is that Saskatchewan head coach Don Matthews is not with his team. He's back in the hospital. We'll get some first-half analysis on the East semifinal here from Bomber quarterback Matt Dunnigan. Don, he's interested in what happens here because his team faces the winner of this game a week today in Winnipeg, and of course Dunnigan is not playing. He's recovering from the torn Achilles tendon, serving as the Bombers' offensive coordinator in the absence of Mike Kelly.
Yes, and everyone is referring to Matt as the highest paid assistant coach in the CFL these days. The injured quarterback working with Sammy Garza and preparing for either Hamilton or Ottawa. At the moment, Hamilton leads by a score of 7-0, and Winfield has taken the ball up to the 51-yard line.
Well, you get Earl Winfield doing a fine job of reading. You look at the offensive line right here doing a good job in front of Todd Dillon, allowing him time to find Winfield on that quick slant coming from his wideout position and letting him run with the football in the open field.
2nd and 3. Dave Donnell bounces off a couple of tackles, but as he spun to the outside, he was hit by Maurice Henry and driven back to the 50. John Gregory was saying that Donnell has been very inconsistent. He said one of the problems he had as a junior, he was so good he really didn't have to prepare, and he found things just a little different when he got to the pros.
He did. He found a little different right there with Greg Stuman playing a great outside linebacker position. He had broke down at the line of scrimmage. When Donnell got there, he was there, broke down, making the hit. You had Mo Henry coming in with the cleanup to no gain on the play.
Paul Osbaldiston has been getting all sorts of time for his 3rd down punts, and he has been kicking well. Penalty flag on the play. Could be an illegal substitution call against the Ottawa Rough Riders. Draw horn. Got away from a couple of people, but then is tackled at the 27-yard line.
Well, it's back there in that position on the field where you might get 13 players on the field because that was thrown by the field judge, and so he was counting players out there.
There is no infraction on the play, no infraction.
I guess you can see anything nowadays in the game. We had one picked up.
Well, there was a flag on the field, but as referee Dave Ewell explained, no infraction on the play. Wayne Walker had hustled off to the Ottawa bench, and he was off the field before the ball had been snapped, but he was the player that the official was looking at.
But there was no advantage gained on the play, so it was an excellent move by the officials to call no penalty.
Burgess on first down, being pressured, throws for Rob Creefo. He makes the catch. He got in behind Bobby Dawson. Dawson thought that Creefo was out of bounds, but tremendous concentration by Creefo to follow the flight of the ball for a 28-yard gain.
That's what you get, Don, when you get that big 6'6" inside receiver. You'll see Burgess flowing out. If we get a freeze right here, if Burgess had stayed inside here, he had a throwing lane, continue on with it. He got outside. Cofield was right in his face. Very fortunate to have Rob Creefo right here. Very touchy situation, but we will continue with the game from this point.
Well, they have a giant replay here at Ivor Wynn, and they just showed the Creefo catch, and that's the reason for the fan reaction. Jock Climby makes the catch at the 45, and he will have another Ottawa first down. There's the Jumbotron I referred to, and when the fans saw the Creefo catch, they reacted much the same way you did, James.
Well, what? I was drawing. They didn't have pictures. No, it was a very questionable call whether Rob Creefo had gotten any part of his foot in bounds, but, you know, it kept the drive alive, and a similar situation happened last week for Ottawa that they got a few fortunate calls by the officials.
On first down, over the middle, the pass is complete to Barnes, and Barnes, who has been a real workhorse this afternoon, 4 catches and 7 running plays, stopped by John Moten for a pickup of 7 yards. 7-0. Hamilton leads with 2:48 remaining in the half.
Soon you'll be able to see these new movies at theaters and head for McDonald's, where you can pick up the original videos, The Addams Family or Wayne's World. Just $6.99 each with any pizza, large sandwich, or extra value meal. Cool. Then there's the children's classic Charlotte's Web and Ghost. Also $6.99 each with any large sandwich, pizza, or extra value meal.
I was not aware of that.
McDonald's Holiday Film Festival, coming Friday, November 19th.
Reimer Express Lines, the Canadian route to and from the Pacific. Fast, economical, shrinking time and costs to deliver goods across the mountains, throughout Canada, and the United States. Right to your door. Reimer Express. Reliable economy. On time. Or free.
That's a bit of a clue, but it has been a very difficult year for Ron Smeltzer. Reggie Barnes, the ball carrier. There's a penalty flag on the play.
Well, you had 2 players jump offside. You had Romel Andrews on defense, but Bruce Beaton, the left offensive tackle, jumped offsides, and he was missed by the official. The official on the far side of the field threw the flag, and Hamilton is going to be whistled for a penalty that they should not receive.
Offside. Hamilton defense. First down.
So the Ottawa Rough Riders have it first and 10 at the Hamilton 33-yard line with 2:35 remaining in the half.
It will get Bruce Beaton right here. You'll see him come down prematurely before the ball is snapped, and Hamilton is going to be caught for the call for the offsides, which was a bad call by the officials.
Could you be more to the point, James?
They messed one up.
Over the middle to Reggie Barnes, and he will have a gain of 6 or 7. The Rough Riders, with their best penetration so far in the football game,
been aided by 2 big penalties. Well, not penalties, but 2 auspicious calls, as we would say. One on a completion to Crefo, where he landed clearly out of bounds. Then on a short yardage situation where Bruce Beaton got away with premature motion, and Hamilton was called for offside.
5 of the 10 completions by Tom Burgess have gone to Reggie Barnes, and there's a penalty flag, a time count violation against the Ottawa Rough Riders.
Well, Tommy Burgess is falling back true to form, as you would say, in that situation. When you get in critical situations, he has been caught several times this year letting the clock run out, and he has cost his team in critical situations. Here, he'll cost his team another 5 yards in a second and short situation.
It's going to be a loss of a down.
Time count violation. Ottawa number 13. 3rd down.
And you'll get Lazecki with his second professional field goal attempt. Maybe this one will be a little better for him because it's in the middle of the field. If he just stays down on it, if he follows through, hopefully he can push it through the uprights.
Lazecki in pregame warm-up was kicking pretty well from inside the 40-yard line. Outside the 40, he was having difficulty getting the distance. This one is certainly well within his range, and it's good. So Lazecki is successful on his first pro field goal. It's his second attempt, but the first that he has been successful on. He was in Saskatchewan, and he said when he was back up to Dave Ridgway, he really didn't get many opportunities to kick.
Well, you really don't get an opportunity to kick in practice when you got Robo-Kicker around, but Mike Lazecki, I know he's really proud right now of what he's just accomplished. He's pulled his team within 4 points, and that was a sorely needed field goal by the Ottawa Rough Riders with the assistance of the officials in moving down in the field goal position.
1st and 10, Hamilton, the ball at the 35-yard line. Dillon over the middle, incomplete. Yock is the man he was looking for. The first time he's gone to Joey Yock since the opening drive, where the son of Saskatchewan assistant Ray Yock made 2 very key catches.
Well, a fine football family, the Yock family. Joey, Jimmy Yock, Ray Yock, the coach. Todd Dillon, though, that time did not plant his feet. Librant Robinson was crawling towards him, and Dillon just felt the pressure and tried to sidearm it out to Yock and threw a bad pass behind Joey.
2nd and 10. Deep for Kenneth Rare, and Rare got turned around with Brett Young and could not get into his pattern. Now there's a penalty flag.
You got Angelo Snipes and Paul Bushy getting into it, and we're going to get an objectionable conduct call here. It's going to be questionable which way it goes, though.
Oh, it's against Ottawa.
And Don, if you recall, at the same point in last week's contest, when Anthony Drawhorn got into it with Joey Yock.
Ottawa number 91. After the play, 15-yard penalty, 1st down.
Gave the team an automatic 1st down, and it's going to keep the drive alive.
And Ron Smeltzer was saying one of the problems we had last week as a team, we lost our focus. He said you can't take foolish penalties such as we took in the first half against Hamilton last week, and for Angelo Snipes, that's another of those foolish penalties.
And we almost had an error-free 1st quarter, but they've been accumulating here in the 2nd.
Dillon can't find a receiver. He steps out of bounds, forced out by Anthony Drawhorn.
Well, Drawhorn is going to be very fortunate here that he didn't get called with a penalty because he went up awful high on Todd Dillon as he was stepping out of bounds. And he's very fortunate. As you see him right here closing on Dillon. Dillon is stepping out of bounds and a little higher, and he might have got a 15-yarder himself right there. Dillon also turned around with a little nudge with his shoulder and said, hey, I'm not a rookie out here myself.
1:45 remaining in the half. 2nd and 13, Hamilton. Seems to be some confusion on the part of the Ticats. They'll have to call a timeout because they were going to be charged with a time count violation with players running on and off the field. No one seemed to be exactly certain what they were going to do.
Well, Nurse was the extra receiver on the field, so they had 13 on the field. So Dillon did the smart thing by calling the timeout. You want to try to preserve this drive and get some points out of it, possibly a field goal if you can get in Osbalduson's range. Why take a foolish penalty to put you back with a 2nd and 17?
Well, later today, most of the people along our CBC television network will see the action from McMahon Stadium in Calgary, where the Stampeders entertain the BC Lions in one Western semifinal. The other semifinal from Commonwealth Stadium in Edmonton as the Eskimos entertain the Saskatchewan Roughriders.
That shot from Calgary, was that the game we did back then in August?
Weather looks pretty good there. Hopefully it'll be the same on the 28th. Ebrere pitches it out. The ball is loose, and it's knocked out of bounds by Brett Young.
A very poor decision by Kenny Ebrere. After trying to elude tacklers down the field, Mo Henry had made a nice open field hit on him, trying to pitch the ball back to Darryl Harley, an offensive lineman. Even though he's the center, he's not accustomed to handling the football when he's running. As you see right here, Dillon getting the ball out to Ebrere. As he tries to turn, Mo Henry makes the hit on him. He pitches the ball back. He was actually down right there. The officials missed that one. And Harley couldn't get the grasp on the ball, and gets knocked out of bounds by the Riders, and they get the ball at midfield in great field position.
So with 1:33 remaining in the half, the Ottawa Roughriders have a chance to erase the 4-point deficit they currently face. Screen to Sean Daniels. That was read perfectly by Michael O'Shea.
And that is the reason why he was the Easton nominee for Rookie of the Year. The young linebacker stepping up, reading the screen play perfectly, letting it develop, hiding behind a blocker, coming up, wrapping up Sean Daniels 2 yards behind the line of scrimmage to keep him in 2nd and long.
O'Shea, initially a draft pick of the Edmonton Eskimos last year. As he was making his way up to the podium, he was told that he had been traded to Hamilton, and what a year he has had with Hamilton. Burgess is in trouble, and he's dropped for a loss back at the 52.
You got that Hamilton defensive front, relentless. Cofield, Andrews, Fields, Beaton around the corner. You'll see him right here. Bruce Beaton, the offensive tackle, trying to block one-on-one on Cofield. Just a quick move outside. He's left there just standing on an island. Burgess being pulled up in the front, and he could not get around the corner, and from the backside being brought down.
Well, Tim Cofield is going to give a lot of would-be blockers a rough time. Last week, he really caused difficulties for Jacques Moreau. And that's one of the reasons Beaton was moved into the tackle position, returning from the injured list. Winfield handles the 3rd down punt. There's a penalty flag in the play. Todd Wiseman is probably going to be charged with an illegal block with 34 seconds remaining in the half.
Well, you see a little emotion being thrown here by Moulton and Stewart, 2 big guys right here. Moulton, the 2nd leading tackler in the CFL this year, is not going to back down from anyone. He is not afraid of Stewart, and they're selling wolf tickets right now, but this is how it started. You see Lazecki with his punt. You see Moulton and Stewart right at the corner of your screen going after Stewart, holding Moulton down.
Hamilton, number 6, 1st down.
Roger Henning then coming to the defense of Moulton. Almost looked as though Stewart was trying to put a chokehold on.
Well, he did, but Moulton got a little handful of face masks, and the officials, see, at points when the official should step in, that's one right in front of him. Don't get involved in something across the field, but when you should step in and break up things, you can't let plays like that escalate.
The illegal block takes the ball back to the 9-yard line. Handoff inside to Dave Donnell, and he was wrapped up immediately by LeBrant Robinson.
Robinson has been playing well along with Kropke on that Ottawa defensive front. LeBrant, one of those young defensive linemen that they feel is only going to get better in years to come. You see him, he's coming from his left end position. You'll see him close right down the line of scrimmage. He hits Donnell in the backfield before he can get started with some help from Snipes on the plate. That's how you play defensive line.
Robinson had a strong game last week right here at Ivor-Wynne Stadium, the final regular season game. Paul Bushy drives out to the 14-yard line with 11 seconds remaining in the first half, and Ottawa, I think, is going to try and call a timeout. And that indeed is the case.
Well, it's going to be very critical here that when Osbaldiston gets the chance, that he gets a good kickoff. You know, hopefully he can just get it out of Lazecki's field goal range and force him to run a passing play. Because if you had Baker in, who had gone out early in the season with the knee injury, they would line him up from midfield and let him attempt a field goal. I don't think they'll do the same with Mike Lazecki.
Now, what would you think of the possibility of having Walker return the kick?
Well,
movement at the line of scrimmage. And this end-over-end kick bounces back. Picked up by Walker, and Walker tries to go wide on Ray Yock. Yock forces him back into the arms of Bushy. I said Ray, I meant Joey Yock.
But you asked me the possibility of Walker returning the kick. That's what you warn about. You got a guy with the ball on the 40-yard line. You go straight ahead. You don't retract the field as he did on that play, and he lost 7 yards.
Offside call against Ottawa.
And if they decline the penalty, time is run out in the half. They leave the field without any points.
Ottawa number 91. The penalty's declined, and the half is over.
So the first half at Iverwin Stadium comes to an end with the Ticats taking a 4-point lead to the dressing room.
Second down right here. The lineman here is going to jump, and that's where the offside comes from right there, and it cost Ottawa, and that's Angelo Snipes. And the kick is gotten off by Osbaldiston to run out the time in the first half.
Well, defensively, this was the first half that lived up to the standard of the playoffs. There is action on 3 fronts on semifinal Sunday. We'll go to the other 2 as we invite you to stay tuned now for Live at the Half. Back in Hamilton now, and welcome to Live at the Half. Here the Ticats lead Ottawa by 4 in the East Division semifinal. The West Division playoffs are about 90 minutes away from starting, and there's no reason at all the Calgary Stampeders should not be heavily favored over the BC Lions in their West Division semifinal. Among other things, the Stamps have home field advantage at McMahon Stadium, and there it is, and Mark Lee is in Calgary for us. Mark?
Indeed, Scott, the Stampeders are the prohibitive favorites to win this game. They beat BC in all 3 of their regular season encounters, but you got to wonder about the mood in the Calgary locker room, one of probably trying to snap out of what has been a late season lull. As you see the shot earlier this morning, they have lost 2 of their last 3 games after going 14-1 this season. Of course, they had nothing to play for in the last 6 weeks of the regular season. They're up against a BC team, though, Scott, that lost 5 of the last 7 games of the season. They're in a late season fall, including 2 dreadful defeats to end the season, in which they allowed a total of 118 points against. The Lions players have gone into a bunker mentality, invoking a gag order, refusing to talk to reporters right up until game time. And this was the scene here at McMahon Stadium yesterday after practice. Do a quick little clip. No. Chris! Danny, can we have a minute? Andre, you got a minute? We do a brief interview?
We can't.
Ray, you got a sec? We talk to Ray? I'm on.
Hey.
Sean, do you have a minute? We do an interview?
I guess we're still doing a little thing. I'm sorry.
So there you have it, the cold shoulder from the Lions, and there's their dressing room, 11:30 this morning, all in readiness for this big game. Their coach, Dave Ritchie, saying if the silence helps them win, God love them, but he wishes they would have talked to reporters because it's not their fault. The Lions got clobbered in the last 2 weeks of the season. Scott, it's going to be a windy game for football here in the Western semifinal in Calgary.
Mark, take my advice, invest in some more hairspray. Okay, we'll go back to Calgary for the start of the Stamps' serious defense of their Grey Cup championship just as soon as we have a decision in this East Division semifinal. And viewers in Northern Alberta and Saskatchewan will see the Western Rough Riders at Commonwealth Stadium to play the Eskimos in the other West Division semifinal. Barry McDonald is standing by for us at Commonwealth Stadium. Barry?
Well, Scott, Commonwealth Stadium, the site of a playoff game for the 8th consecutive season. There was a light dusting of snow overnight, about 4 centimeters, field conditions not a problem. Well, at this point, the field has been cleared. The story overnight that everybody was monitoring was the health of the man beside me, head coach Don Matthews of the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Don, an emergency appendectomy a month ago, some complications. How are you feeling?
Well, I had a little scar tissue and I had a little blockage in there, and they were afraid they were going to have to operate again. And when they said that, it scared me a little bit, and we let it go, and it cleared. The blockage cleared early this morning, and so they let me come back to work.
How are you feeling now?
I feel pretty good. I didn't get an awful lot of sleep, but the adrenaline kicks in, so it'll be fine.
Good to see you back, Don. I'm sure you're hoping to feel really good in about 5 hours from now, I guess it would be. Let's go upstairs now to Steve and Matt.
Thank you very much, Barry. Good to see the coach back. Even coaches play with a little pain.
Oh, I'm glad to see him back. Glad to see you back, Don.
The big story here should be the battle of the quarterbacks. Kent Austin of Saskatchewan and Damon Allen of the Eskimos.
Kent Austin quickly becoming one of the most prolific passers in the CFL. He throws the ball quickly, puts pressure on the defense with his arm. Damon Allen, he's got to put pressure on the corner, meaning he's got to come at the defense both with the pass and the run.
And if the field conditions are a little bit slippery, they should favor Damon Allen and the running. Barry?
Trust a quarterback to be talking about the quarterbacks. I think the defensive guys will have something to say about that today. Willie Pless, of course, for Edmonton, and Gerald Bayless for Saskatchewan. Scott?
Okay, Barry, so semifinal action from Alberta yet to come. It remains for us, though, to get a decision in this game. Hamilton leads through 30 minutes, bidding for a spot in the final against Winnipeg. When we continue at Iverwin Stadium, one half of the East Division semifinal is complete, and neither team has yet staked a claim to a berth in the division final. Ticats lead by 4. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers are waiting for the winner of this game in the East Division final. Even though the Bombers finished first by 16 points, it's fair to say they may have come back to the rest of the pack when they lost quarterback Matt Dunnigan about a month ago. Dunnigan had been having the season of his life. He was easily the best player in the division, maybe the best in all the land, until he tore his Achilles tendon. Now as he recovers, he's helping coach the Bomber offense and working for us today on the telecast of the Saskatchewan-Edmonton game at Commonwealth Stadium. He's kept a close eye on what's happened in this East Division semifinal for the first half, concerned, of course, about what his team may have to do next week. Matt, your analysis in particular on the defenses in this first half.
Well, I've been breaking them down the last couple of weeks, anticipating, a winner and getting prepared for each team. We're in a situation where I'm looking at the monitor going, Hamilton's not doing the things that I've been breaking down the last couple of weeks. I think they've mixed things up a little bit defensively, so it'll be interesting to get back in the film room and break these guys down now once this game's over with. Ottawa, it seems like they're doing the same things, putting pressure on the quarterback, trying to bring a lot of people and make Todd Dillon throw the ball in a hurry. And he did capitalize on that earlier in the game. And I hit the back coming out of the backfield, Lee Knight, in the flat and in a hurry because he had Greg Stuman in his face. And that's the type of thing that he's going to have to do in the second half to be successful.
Matt, some of your Bomber teammates say they'd rather face Hamilton in the East Division final than Ottawa. Do you concur?
It really doesn't matter. I've got a really good feel for what Hamilton does defensively. Then I look at the films today and watch the game, and boy, kind of gives you throws you a curveball there. So, Ottawa, we know what they're going to do. They're going to pressure the quarterback, try to put people in your face. Hamilton, I got a really good feel there. So, to me, it really doesn't matter. I just can't wait for this game to be over with so we can know who it is and move on from there.
Matt, is there a fair amount of pressure on your team to win the East Division final next week, given how it would look for the CFL to have a 6-12 team or a 4-14 team in the Grey Cup?
I would think so. 14-4, I don't want to see the best team in the East in the Grey Cup, and I honestly believe that's the Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
Okay, Matt, thanks for your time, and good luck on the telecast today.
Thanks a lot, Scott. I'll need it.
All right. You got the gift of gab. I'm sure you're going to be fine. And Don, here at Iverwin Stadium, looked like the defenses certainly were focused on a berth in next week's East Division final, did it not?
Yes, indeed, Scott, and whenever the defense shines, this man smiles. James Curry was delighted with the play of the two defenses in the first half, although it started as though Todd Dillon was going to put a lot of points on the board.
Well, it did start that way. Dillon took that opening drive, marched it right down the field. Then things showed up the way I expected them to. You get two defenses really battling, and the pressure came against the quarterbacks. You got that opening touchdown to Lee Knight out in the flat, a great read by Dillon.
But then the defense has settled down, and Dillon had a lot of people in his face every time he dropped back to
You
throw.
look at Angelo Snipes with the great spin move right here, tracking down Dillon in the pocket, and that came from both sides of the football. Then on the other side of the field, you had Hamilton coming with the great defensive pressure. You look at Beaton right here, the rookie being thrusted in against Tim Cofield, one of the top sackers in the CFL, getting around with help from Bates pulling Burgess up, and Cofield comes up with the sack on the play against Burgess.
Well, a lot of people this year have had problems with Tim Cofield, as he ranked number 3 in the league in quarterback sacks behind Peyton of Winnipeg and Brigance of the BC Lions. We'll be back with the second half from Iberwin Stadium after we pause for these messages. To start the second half in this East semifinal, the Ticats will kick off to Ottawa. 7-4, Hamilton leads. Or 7-3, pardon me, Hamilton leads. And I guess we shouldn't be surprised that it has been a low-scoring game in that during the course of the season, Hamilton scored 30 points or more only twice, and Ottawa managed 30 points or more only 3 times. Joseph is going to let this one go out of bounds at the 20-yard line. So Hamilton will kick off again. Statistically, this is what the first half looked like. Much of the 184-yard total of the Hamilton Ticats came on their very first possession, when Lee Knight took it from 11 yards out into the end zone.
Well, you had an excellent first quarter by the Ticats, and that offense has gone somewhat into hiding since that point, and the defenses have taken over. And it's like you said, I like to see good defensive football. I think that's what it's all about. Offenses will score points, but defenses will win you championships.
Osbaldiston waits for the signal, this time 5 yards further back, kicking off from the 30-yard line. Drawhorn and Joseph wait for the kick.
You know, when you look at it, I think the real plus that Ottawa's had today is the performance of Mike Lazecki in the first half. He has really kept his team in it with his punting, and especially he was able to kick 1 of 2 field goal attempts.
Joseph takes the ball at the 22-yard line. And Joseph goes out of bounds in the vicinity of the 43. Todd Wiseman forced him out of bounds. When the Ticats have led at halftime, they have 6 wins as against 1 loss.
And that came last week.
And the only time that the Ottawa Rough Riders have managed to come from behind was in last week's final regular season game right here at Iberwin Stadium. Out of the shotgun, Burgess looking for Reggie Barnes, and it's over his head, incomplete.
But Tim Cofield, along with Bates, did a tremendous job of getting up in Tommy Burgess's face. He set back in the pocket. The offensive line seemed to be doing a good job. Burgess set back. All of a sudden, Cofield and Bates came free, and Burgess paid the price for it.
Beaton still appears to be having problems handling Tim Cofield.
Well, a lot of people have had problems, not just rookies, but a lot of veterans have had their hands full handling Tim Cofield this season.
2nd and 10 from the 43. Hitch screen to Stephan Jones, and he is going to get 8, maybe 8.5 yards before being stopped by Ramel Andrews.
A nice play call that time by Tommy Burgess to come with the hitch screen. You go with trips right, 3 receivers out to the right side, and you get Stephan Jones to come back underneath. As you see him right here flowing back underneath, you get Ellingson out in front along with Climbing, having him come inside, but great pursuit by Ramel Andrews from his defensive tackle position to stop Jones after an 8-yard gain. Tommy Burgess, you see him here getting that ball out in a hurry to Jones. He's getting behind his blockers, but came up short of the first down on the play. Great pursuit by the Ticat defense once again.
Winfield and Burbage go back for the 3rd down punt by Mike Lazecki. The 2 punt returners collide. The ball comes loose, and the Ticats are fortunate that they were able to get it back.
Well, Don, compared to last week when the Riders trailed by 14 at the half, the Ottawa locker room was relatively quiet and calm at this halftime. Ron Smeltzer spoke, as you might expect, to the issue of what he called stupid penalties. There were a few too many of those for his liking in the second quarter, so he wants that to be monitored very carefully. But with respect to the offense, he's not too concerned because, as I say, they were down by 14 at the half last week, only down by 4 here, and he has faith in his offense that they can pull it out.
Burbage and Winfield not communicating properly and handling that third down punt. They were fortunate they got it back. Lee Knight takes the ball out to the 38-yard line. He'll be about 2 yards shy of a first down. Patrick Burke forced him out of bounds. Todd Dillon had a pretty good first half, even though the Ticats were able to score just 1 touchdown. He passed for 155 yards as he completed 11 of 17.
Well, Dillon has had 2 decent outings since returning last week, you know, the first half of this game and last week's game before he went out with that unfortunate injury.
Yock takes a hit from Anthony Drawhorn. Yock had been looking behind him for the football. Not a good throw by Todd Dillon, so the Ticats are forced to send out their punting unit.
Well, that ball was behind Yock. Dillon just a little impatient. You see him here trying to flick it out real quick, but Drawhorn coming up. Good clean hit, good hard football, and that's what you have to do. When you're on defense, you serve notice to those receivers. This is my house. If you're going to come in, you got to pay the price.
Paul Osbaldiston has been getting all sorts of time for his third down punts and has been kicking the ball as well today as we have seen almost at any time this season. Another good kick to Walker at the 27. Walker gets up ahead of steam and then tries to hurdle a couple of players, but goes down at the 42 after a 15-yard return.
Henry on the tackle.
2 of the Hamilton assistant coaches had head coaching positions in the past in the Canadian Football League. Gary Durchik and Joe Moss.
And through my travels, I had an opportunity to get a paycheck from both of them, you know.
You didn't miss many stops in the CFL, did you?
Well, you know, I kept that Samsonite packed.
7-3, Hamilton leads with 12:16 remaining in the third quarter. Stephan Jones on the sidelines takes the ball at the Hamilton 54, a gain of 13 yards and a first down.
Well, Stephan Jones, he was a much forgotten receiver in the first half, but you see him working one-on-one against Course Urban right here, but he breaks off, comes back to Tommy Burgess, gets the separation, and that's what you expect from the receivers, to give that separation so that the defensive back cannot make a play on the ball, and he picks up the first down.
Jones didn't have a catch in the first half. He has 2 in the second half. This is Reggie Barnes, bounced out of bounds by Bobby Dawson.
I think saying bounced out is speaking lightly. Bobby Dawson drove him out of bounds. And Bobby Dawson, look at the build of this young man. A very physical halfback coming up on Barnes. He is not going to back off. He lowers that shoulder, and Barnes pays the price, being driven out of bounds by Bobby Dawson short of the first down. A big place secondary player, 210 pounds. He could play linebacker in the CFL, and he is one revered hitter around the league.
The short yardage offense comes on the field for Ottawa. 2nd and 3, and Barnes is dropped by Moten, but will be very close to a first down.
Had O'Shea down around the ankles, but Moten came in there and dropped that shoulder on Barnes and got into the turf in a hurry. Looks like he's about, we say, a nose short of a football. Let me give you these glasses real quick, Don. I don't want you to be wrong.
Well, you know, at the start of the year, Coach Ron Smeltzer was saying when the team broke training camp, he felt he had the personnel capable of improving upon the 9-9 record that the team posted a year ago. They got off to a good start winning their first game, but then they lost all those close football games.
You get Moten sitting right here, and you get O'Shea. He's going to come inside. Moten is going to come up high. Barnes is going to come around, and they're all going to meet right there in the hole. Nice hit by the Ticat defense. Held him a nose short of the first down.
They're going after it, and Tom Burgess will get it on third down. 7 games involving the Ottawa Rough Riders this year decided by a total of 13 points. They lost 4 games by 1 point, 1 game by 2 points, 1 game by 3 points, and 1 game by 4 points.
John, looks like the Riders will have to change their receiving configuration for a while. Wayne Walker is doubtful for the rest of this game, twisted his knee and I think his ankle on the last kick return. So Jock Climie goes to the outside of Walker's spot, and James Ellingson will take Climie's spot inside, and it may stay that way if Walker can't return.
Inside handoff to Barnes, and he's dropped for a loss. Crepo and James Ellingson have shifted into the slot back positions with Jock Climie going wide in place of Walker.
This defensive front of the Ticats is playing marvelous football this afternoon. If you see Big Jeff Fields coming in right there in the middle of the screen, getting that penetration inside on Barnes, once again knocking him off stride for a loss on the play.
2nd and 13. Over the middle, intended for Barnes. Even had Barnes been able to make the catch, I think Mike O'Shea was all set to drop him right on the spot.
But even more so than that, Tim Cofield has drawn a bead on Tommy Burgess. He has been in that backfield all afternoon, that time working from the left defensive end position against Lammy, the right offensive tackle. Watch Cofield come from the bottom of your screen just as Tommy Burgess releases his pass and lays a wallop on him once again. He is going to be black and blue when this game is over this afternoon.
Isn't that the objective of a defensive end? To arrive at the quarterback as soon as possible in a bad frame of mind?
In a bad frame of mind with an attitude.
3rd down punt taken by Burbage, a no yards call against Ottawa. Burbage was hit, lost his helmet in the process.
Charles Wright's going to be hit with the no yards call. But once again, Smelter said dumb penalties. And it's costing his team. No yards, going to give them good field position where they had the Ticats pinned down inside the 10-yard line. Now they're going to get the ball out past the 20.
Ottawa number 39, 15-yard penalty, 1st down.
Charles Wright was guilty of the no yards call. And it was Sardo and Bonner that jarred the helmet off the head of the punt returner, Cornell Burbage.
Well, you see Burbage, I mean, a very slightly built guy. Every time you see him, look like you might want to give him a sandwich or something, you know. And he paid the price on that punt return.
1st and 10 from the 24. The toss to Dave Donnell. Donnell wraps his arms around that football, making sure it doesn't pop loose as he gets up to the 29-yard line, stopped by Snipes and Kropke.
But Donnell had tough running in that 2nd quarter.
Only 1 touchdown so far in the football game, and that came on Hamilton's very first possession as Todd Dillon flipped it to Lee Knight, who took it in from 11 yards out. Late in the half, Mike Lezecki kicked a field goal, his very first as a pro, and it's 7-3 with Dave Donnell getting a 1st down up to the 44. He took a pretty good hit there from Charles Gordon, but he's got a 1st down.
The one-on-one mismatch that Hamilton would like to have all afternoon. You got Donnell, who was converted slot back at the start of the season, working one-on-one with Mo Henry, the middle linebacker. You see him getting out of the backfield. Mo Henry can just not run with Donnell, but look at that crushing hit by Gordon right there at the end of the play. Dropped him right in his tracks.
Dave Donnell's got to learn a few things. Try and run around guys. Don't try and run through them.
Or duck.
And Todd Dillon should have been ducking because Bonner was right in his face and dropped him for a loss of about 5.
I think he took a page from Donnell, said, if you can do it, I can do it better. Because that time, Bonner did a great job. Dillon had time, seemed like, but he was forced up by Kropke and Snipes into the pocket, and Anthony Bonner was sitting right there with that cleanup sack, and he just drilled Todd Dillon to the turf.
5 sacks so far for the Ottawa Rough Riders. But they trail 7-3 with 7:41 remaining in the 3rd quarter. Dillon faked, got away from Snipes, throws back into the middle to Joey York, and York struggles for a 1st down. Boy, York got about 5 yards all on his own with two players draped all over him.
When you talk about a big heart and determination, Don, Joey Yock possessed it all on that play. Right there, that personifies the type of game we've had this afternoon. Dillon could not find the middle screen right there. He was going to Denell. Snipes got up in his face. But watch Joey Yock working back towards his quarterback, finding that soft spot in front of Anthony Drawhorn, but not to be denied. Picked up 6 yards on his own after the reception. Joey Yock, I mean, a deserving young man on that play and getting accolades from his teammates after that reception. 3 for 79 yards this afternoon.
A real character at the workout on Friday. He was heard all over the practice field just behind Ivor Wynn. He had comments on everyone's performance at practice, on everything that was going on, and he's the type of individual who keeps his teammates loose as they prepare for a big football game. 7:06 remains in the third quarter. Joey Yock had gone off to the bench, but with an injury to Brett Young, he was able to come back onto the field, and as he came back on, he was waving his arms, playing the role of cheerleader, and he got the fans involved. This is one of the better crowds of the year at the Eastern semifinal here at Ivor Wynn Stadium. They were anticipating about 21,000 for this battle with Ottawa.
Well, Yock, with his performance, has been enough to pump him up, but he's coming out playing that dual role, and he's doing a fine job at it.
Yock gets up to the Hamilton 48, but there's a penalty flag.
We got multiple penalties. We're going to get an offsides called, and we're also going to get a holding right in the middle of the offensive line. I think Wallow, Douglas, the big offensive guard, is going to get caught on this one for holding.
I think the wide receiver on the far side was across the line of scrimmage well before the ball was snapped.
Hamilton, number 66. 10-yard penalty. First down repeated.
The holding call is the one, however, that will take the ball back, and it is against the newcomer, Rob Wallow.
Well, in his first CFL game, he's been working hard all afternoon. I guess holding is not a penalty unless it's called, and it goes on every play, and he got caught on one.
Dillon for Lee Knight. Chased and caught from behind by Brian Bonner.
A good play call by Dillon, not trying to pick it all up on first down, but try to get back in that 10 to 8-yard range where you need to pick up the first down. Catching Lee Knight circling out of the backfield, and you'll see right here, Dillon, you're going to get Knight blocking here. He's going to release across the middle, and he's going to come back with the pass. Bonner cannot run with him on this play. As you see Bonner trying to pick him up as he goes across the middle, but he picks up 8 yards on the reception. Good call by Dillon and reception by Knight.
2nd and 12. Dillon's in trouble, can't find a receiver, and this is a coverage sack. Andrew Stewart made the tackle. He and Kulka have been operating at the nose guard position, and Stewart was in to bring down Todd Dillon.
Good job by that secondary of the Ottawa Rough Riders of not allowing Dillon to find one of his receivers downfield, forcing him to pull down the football and run with it. He picked up 3 yards on the play, but he's forcing Osbaldiston, who has been having an excellent afternoon punting the football. 3 weeks ago, Don, he paid his own way to a kicking school down in Nevada, and it has improved his punting thus far this afternoon.
A bouncing ball that is taken by Drawhorn. Ricky Royal jumped up in the face of Drawhorn, but Drawhorn was able to shed him with Jim Yock finishing the job.
Ricky Royal on that last punt return by Drawhorn looked like he had been in a rodeo, Don. He came in trying to do a little bulldog. If you're looking here working just right, as Drawhorn comes and grabs him around the neck there, and little bulldogging contest, and he looked like he lost on.
Well, it's a good thing he did that, because had he not been able to slow him down just for that moment, he had a scene. Ramel Andrews was after Burgess, but he got the pass away to Stephan Jones for another Ottawa first down.
Stephan Jones doing a fine job. Once again, first down, they go to Jones. Jones working one-on-one against Corus Irvin, just driving him off the football. But he does the thing. He breaks back to the quarterback, gets that separation. And if you look at the defensive line, Romel Andrews has been having a fine afternoon, getting the pressure on Tommy Burgess, forcing him out of the pocket.
This time, Burgess rolls to his left, throws over the middle, incomplete, intended for Creepo. You talked about Stephan Jones working against Corus Irvin. Wasn't Corus Irvin the defensive back for the Argos who attempted to cover Stephan Jones back in August, late in the football game?
Well, as you notice this afternoon, Irvin is giving him that cushion, not getting too close, because he has a long stride, but he also has a long memory that goes back to what brought him back down to QEW to Hamilton.
Irvin was with Toronto on August the 26th when Stephan Jones scored the winning touchdown on a long toss from Burgess with 8 seconds left. Dawson on the blitz drops Burgess back at the 35. Dawson came clean and Burgess had no chance.
We got Bobby Dawson sitting down here in the corner of the screen. He is going to come around. Burgess is going to go back, not seen. This is what's called the hammer blitz. Bobby Dawson comes clean around the corner. Tommy Burgess doesn't see him, and he just lays him out. Perfect play call and execution by the Ticat defense.
High snap over the head of Lezecki. The Ticats have got it. Roger Henning. We said at the start of the ball game that the inexperience of Pat Mann at center could prove troublesome later in the day for Ottawa.
And that's what happens, Don. You get the repetitions of things building up in the game. Pat Mann, in his first game, you see him here, he just gets too much height on the football. You see his rear end raise up, and that's what caused the ball to carry. When he got that rear end up too high in the air, that ball took off, went over Mike Lezecki's head. Hamilton with great field position at the 12.
4 minutes remaining in the third quarter. Dillon for Donnell. Well, Donnell gets full marks for his courage in trying to take on linebackers and cornerbacks, but he's been taking a bit of a beating, and that time it was Patrick Burke who put the hit on the Hamilton back.
Great eye and hand concentration right there, but look at Patrick Burke come up. Donnell has to learn, if you get down a little lower, maybe you can give a blow instead of taking a blow at all times, because your CFL career will be very short if you continue to take shots like that. I mean, you cannot run upright. I mean, maybe one guy, Eric Dickerson, was able to run upright and take shots, but Donnell is not that big of a ball player, and Drawhorn is going off the field right here.
John Gregory talked about Donnell's inexperience. He said he has all sorts of talent as a runner, but he has to learn about how to play the game as a professional.
Well, he's still learning. We got Drawhorn out. Charles Wright will come in, replacing him in this situation.
Touchdown to Joey Yock.
Joey Yock, the big play. And their fans are feeling it at the moment.
I saw his father play some football for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers in the early 60s, but he never had an end zone dance like son Joey.
Well, I can't say that I saw people play in the early 60s, and that's what I'm going to let you have the afternoon on those old-timer games.
The point after by Paul Osbaldiston, and the Hamilton Ticats very quickly take advantage of an Ottawa miscue to increase their lead to 14-3. Mike Jovanovic hugs teammate Joey Yock, who scores the second Hamilton touchdown of the day.
Well, you get Todd Dillon with the quick read. You know, Anthony Drawhorn went out, and that's just where they went to in that area of the field. When Drawhorn had gone out, Young came in. Young's been sitting on the sideline all afternoon, and you see a jubilant Yock right there. Joey is really living it up. But that's what you do. Todd Dillon knew where to go to, where the weakness had been placed in the secondary. And you get it right here. Dillon's in the pocket. You're going to get Yacht come in real quick on the slant. Gordon Young is right there. And you're going to see Dillon with the quick read. The linebackers are coming on the blitz. Right where Snipes had left, Yacht came into. Boom, touchdown. The second major of the afternoon to put the Ticats up 14-3.
Joey Yawk has only scored 2 touchdowns as a professional. His first was in the first meeting of the season between the two teams. A 41-yard touchdown score. That was his first career major. Today, his second could be a very big one. Jeff Fields is the injured Hamilton player. He was in there on the convert attempt for the Hamilton Ticats and was shaken up, but the Arkansas State product appears to be all right and should be returning.
Well, so often teams bring those defensive linemen in for field goal and extra point, getting those big bodies up there. Jeff Fields has been having a marvelous afternoon on the defensive line this afternoon, and good to see him going off the field under his own power, and he should be back very soon, Don. Right here is a true test for Ottawa. How will they respond after that turnover and that major score by the Hamilton Ticats?
With Wayne Walker injured, they've been forced to make some adjustments on the kick return unit for the Ottawa Rough Riders. Patrick Burke is in his place, and he brings the ball up to the 35-yard line.
Well, the Cats have just gone up with a touchdown, but noticeable by their absence for big plays on both teams are the big play players on both the Riders and the Ticats. Stephan Jones earlier indicated that he'd like to catch a couple of deep ones to get into this game, but he just told me, Don, that the Ticats are taking away the deep threat by leaving 3 men deep at all times. They don't want to get caught on the big one, obviously. And Earl Winfield has not been prominent in this game today. That's a surprise because he's a Ticats money player, but he says nothing complicated about that. It's just that they're calling different plays at this time. He expects to get the ball a lot as the game goes on.
Well, Jones is open. He got in behind the coverage, and he's going to score a touchdown. And the man chasing him into the end zone, a man who's done that before, Corus Irvin. A 75-yard touchdown for Stephan Jones, and the Ottawa Rough Riders are right back in the ball game.
Stephan Jones, as he's done earlier this year with Corus Irvin, he's been working underneath all afternoon on the short 10 to 12 comeback route. You'll see him here driving off the ball. We get a freeze right here. You get Irvin looking into the backfield. Jones will continue upfield. Burgess with the time. He'd gotten a separation, and he's off to the races. One of the fastest wideouts in the CFL, and there was no way that Corus Irvin was going to catch Stephan Jones. He's seen that picture earlier this year.
Deja vu all over again, as they say, for Corus Irvin and Stephan Jones. Jones on the 26th of August, with 8 seconds remaining, beat Corus Irvin for a 56-yard touchdown to give Ottawa a victory at the Sky Dome, 26-25. He got in behind Corus Irvin this time for a 75-yard touchdown, and it's 14-10. Hamilton leading with 2:30 remaining in the third quarter.
Well, Burgess gives this one his all. He heaves that out, and Stephan Jones has to slow down and wait on it a little bit. But see, Corus Irvin has been shot on those little short ones all afternoon, so he thought that he could look into the backfield and possibly get a break on a football, and Jones kept running, and Burgess had the proper play call at that time, and a jubilant players on both. Go! Watch out, Stephan. His toughest hit of the afternoon right there. As we call that, the asphalt monster got him. But right there, happy Tom Burgess and Stephan Jones. And a big play because it seemed like the Riders might have been losing contact with this game right here after the Ticats got the big touchdown off of the turnover. But they're back into it, 14-10, Don.
Still 2:30 remaining in the third quarter. We remind our viewers that following this game, we'll be switching to Western semifinal action. Most of the country will see the game between Calgary and BC. This is Cordell Burbage on the return, and he brings it up to the Ottawa 53 before being forced out of bounds. A 39-yard run back by Burbage. So after this game had developed into a tough defensive struggle for almost 3 quarters, all of a sudden, explosive players are beginning to take over.
Well, Burbage did a fine job of reading his blockers coming up that left sideline. He got the good kick-out block, able to get across midfield before being forced out by Rob Grifo. Now Todd Dillon. The onus is on him to move his offense.
Hand off to Dave Donnell, and Donnell stumbles his way to the Ottawa 45-yard line. Angelo Snipes was able to trip him up, and then Maurice Henry finished the job.
Running a simple inside trap play here. You'll see right here as they just kick him down inside Stewart. They seal him with Henry at center and Harley at center, and Donnell is able to get up in the seam, pick up 9 yards on that run before being knocked off by Snipes.
Second down and a little better than 1 from the 45-yard line. Yock has it. I talked about Yock being a character, and you see him getting the fans involved in the game as he makes the sideline catch for a Hamilton first down.
The key to this play right here is that you're going to get Dale Sanderson, the gimpy old veteran right there, pulling out in front of Todd Dillon. He's going to kick out on Manley at the end position to give Dillon the time. He's going to pull up inside, and he's able to deliver that pass to Yock out in the flat.
Yock has 5 catches for 93 yards and a touchdown. Donnell lost the football. It's still loose, and it's recovered by Ottawa. LeBrant Robinson pounced on the football, and the Ottawa Rough Riders take over. Dave Donnell with his second fumble of the day.
Well, that's what we spoke about, the young player who needed to learn how to be a professional player, and in tough times like this, you got to know when you got to wrap that football up. Lack of concentration has troubled him. You'll see him right here with the inside counter. He's looking upfield. He's not concentrating on the handoff. The Ottawa swarming defense is all over this football. LeBrant Robinson just lays out and engulfs it. A big turnover for the Riders when it seemed like the Ticats were marching.
We're into the final minute of the third quarter. Tom Burgess throws deep over the middle for Grifo. Grifo slipped at the 40-yard line as he turned, looking back for the football.
That ball was actually tipped at the line of scrimmage. Tommy Burgess is very fortunate, but Rob Grifo with excellent concentration. You'll see Burgess dropping back. Watch Ramel Andrews and Jeff Fields right here in the middle of your screen. Andrews gets a hand on the football as it's coming out, but Grifo, 6'6", able to stay there and come back and get it. Big play for the Riders offense.
1st and 10 from the 40. Burgess gets away from the initial pressure, but he had to throw with Ramel Andrews in his face, and he badly underthrew Jock Climbey on the sideline.
And somebody is giving Ramel Andrews a wake-up call because this big cat is playing right now. Watch Ramel. He is just fighting along with Jeff Fields right up front, forces Burgess out of the pocket. But Tommy Burgess knew where he was throwing that ball. He threw it in front of everyone. He intentionally ground that and got away with it just by being the smart player that he is.
This should be the final play of the third quarter. 14-10, Hamilton leads. Intended for Climbey on the sidelines, incomplete.
Tim Cofield again with tremendous pressure on Tommy Burgess, got to him just after he delivered that pass, and it went out of bounds.
So with 15 minutes remaining in the Eastern semifinal at Ivor Wynne, the Ticats hold a 4-point lead. Man Stadium in Calgary, the Stampeders hope to be playing in it, but first they must get past Danny Barrett and the BC Lions. And people like Dave Sapunjas are hoping that the Stampeders are there because he's already purchased a lot of plane tickets to fly his family to the Grey Cup game. Up in Edmonton, Kent Austin and the Saskatchewan Roughriders are pleased that they will have Don Matthews back on the sidelines, and they hope to advance to the Western Final next week against either Calgary or BC.
Air Austin should be a fine afternoon.
Mike Lezecki with a 47-yard field goal. It's blocked. Well, Lezecki was having some problems with low kicks in pregame warm-up, in trying long field goals, and that one was kicked right into the line.
Well, everything starts with the center. Pat Mann, once again, is looking around. But look at the center of the line. Watch Lubo Zisakovic come right up through the middle. Lubo's about 6'7", 6'8" right there. Gets a hand up along with Bates, and they knock that down. Terrence Jones does a fine job of getting it down on the tee, but watch the follow-through right here. He kicks the ball right in the fat part, in the meat. He kicked it high. He had no chance of getting that up in the air. That's been a problem all afternoon, the specialty teams for Ottawa.
1st and 10, Hamilton from the 40-yard line. Deep, intended for a rare over his head. It will be 2nd and 10.
Todd Dillon now showing a little bit of frustration as you look at him, knowing that he had an open receiver and just was impatient, not getting the ball to him. We look at Bates on the sideline here. Bates got that last field goal along with Lubo Zisakovic. Another big play by the Ticats specialty team. That is the reason why they're in the lead right now, because of their specialty team play.
2nd and 10 from the 40. Dillon with time to the sidelines for Winfield. Winfield has been quiet for most of this second half, but he has a first down, forced out of bounds by Bertland Cummings, who is in the ball game, replacing the injured Anthony Drawhorn.
Well, Drawhorn went out a couple series ago, and you got Cummings in the game now with Winfield working on that deep out route, and Dillon has the time. The offensive line did a fine job of forming that pocket, letting him survey the field as you've seen, gunning it out to Winfield, picks up 12 yards and a first down to midfield.
Burbage goes wide left, Winfield to the right. The pass intended for Winfield, it's over his head. Dillon tried to lob it up there and let Winfield run under it, but it was just a little too far. Statistically, the Rough Riders have the edge in net yards, 75 of those yards coming on the touchdown toss from Burgess to Stephan Jones. But it's 14-10, Hamilton leading, and the winner will advance to the Eastern Final at Winnipeg Stadium next Sunday against the Blue Bombers.
See that Don Whitman? Hey, Don.
I'm not going to argue. I learned long ago never to have differences with defensive tackles. Dillon fumbles the exchange from center, but Dillon was able to fall on the football, but it puts Hamilton in a third down situation.
And this is what's kept Ottawa in the game for the most part this afternoon, the miscues by the Hamilton offense. Right here, you see the exchange from center right here. Harley just doesn't get it up into Dillon's hands as he's pulling out. And very fortunate because Harley stepped on that bad arm that Dillon came into the game with. You've had Donnell with the 2 fumbles. The mishandling of the football has really been costly for the Ticats this afternoon.
You talked earlier about Osbaldiston going down to a kicking camp in Nevada. It's the second time he's gone down to the Ray Pelfrey camp, and both times he says he has benefited. Charles Gordon was fortunate that when the ball hit him, it bounced straight up in front of him because he wasn't really sure where the ball had gone. Paul Bushy is down there to make the tackle after the 46-yard punt. Paul Osbaldiston has been punting very well for the Ticats today, but after his last kick, he limped off the field.
Right here, he gets a little overextension on his leg on that follow-through, and it's sort of like you pinch a little cartilage in there, get a little hyperextension. You can see him right here grimacing as he grabs his right leg. That could be a trouble spot for him as this game progresses on to the waning moment.
He's been averaging 40.7 yards per kick today. Burgess caught from behind and dropped for a loss. Steve Bates is the man who will get the quarterback sack.
A tremendous job done by Bates on his backside pursuit. But the defensive lineman that's been a thorn in Ottawa's side all afternoon is Tim Cofield. Doesn't get the sack, but you watch Cofield on the front side as Burgess is rolled out. He cannot get outside and contained by Cofield, and Bates is coming in closing as he should from the backside and gets the sack.
2nd and 13, Burgess from the shotgun. Tries to dump it off, goes to Barnes, and Barnes is going to be stopped short of a first down at the 20-yard line. O'Shea was able to trip up Reggie Barnes. Initially, Burgess was attempting to go deep. I believe he was looking for Stefan Jones.
Well, he was able to check off the Barnes out in the flat. He tried to go deep, but that defensive front of Hamilton was right in his face, and mainly because of what Tim Cofield has done afternoon. They've had to take alternative measures in trying to block him. They've had to come with some assistance from the running backs. And right now, Pat Mann, there's a lot of pressure on him to get off a decent snap. He has to keep that rear end down so that ball doesn't float.
This time he gets it back cleanly to Lazecki, and it's a good kick by Lazecki to Winfield back at the 45-yard line, and Winfield got back to midfield and was tackled there by Pat Mann.
Well, Don, the record for sacks in a playoff game is 4, and 3 players have done it. Many people guess Tim Cofield will be in for that kind of record day for Hamilton, lining up against the inexperienced Bruce Beaton on Ottawa's offensive line. Cofield, as James has mentioned, has had lots of pressure but no sacks. And look at the guy who's number 2 on the list of all-time playoff sackers, James Curry with 3.5. That was with Toronto in the '84 semifinal against Hamilton. I'm guessing that half sack was because he pulled up, Don, and showed the quarterback some mercy. What do you think?
Well, I would think that would only be fitting that he pull up. The ball pops out of the arms of the receiver, Cornell Burbage, but he was already out of bounds. Are you kidding, Scott? James Curry pull up in front of a quarterback?
Well, it's not something that I would have done on a regular basis, but a lot of times I want to sit there and admire the pass flying downfield.
11:26 remaining in the football game. 14-10. Hamilton leads.
There's a fan holding on to a football, not wanting to give it back, but Paul Bushy goes over and convinces the fan, and then turns right around and gives the football back to the fan. A class move by Paul Bushy.
Earl Winfield has his own football for a first down, as that fan has a souvenir of today's ball game.
And she's one happy Ticat fan. See the whiskers with it painted on her face? And you gotta like what Paul Bushy did, because when the ball goes into the stand on its own, they have to return it. But he took it and gave it to the fan. He said, hey, if I get fined, this fan deserves it.
First and 10, Hamilton. The ball at the Ottawa 43. 10:42 remaining in the game. The pass complete to Lee Knight. He's going to be close to another Hamilton first down.
Going to come up about a yard short on this, Don, but a good play call by Dillon. He's slowing down the pressure of this Ottawa blitz. You get Knight releasing out of the backfield, out in the flat. You see Stuman coming on the blitz, but there's Knight, who was the checkoff man in the flat, hurdling the cornerback coming up, Gordon, picking up 9 yards, 1 short of the first down.
Second and 1. Dave Donnell, the ball carrier. He could score. Yes. For 2 earlier fumbles, a 34-yard touchdown gallop for Dave Donnell.
Well, the young man is really elated right here. As you see him coming off tackle, Paul Bushy goes up in the hole, does the seal down block, and Donnell is off to the races. We spoke about his speed earlier, and that time you got a chance to see him demonstrate it.
Minutes remaining in the ball game, with Paul Osbaldiston adding the point after. And the Hamilton Ticats have moved in front by 11 points. 21-10 they lead.
Big Jeff Fields, as we see him leaving off the field, the unsung hero on that play. If you look at Fields, he is right here. He is playing tight end. You're going to get Donnell come around, and that is the key. He just seals down the entire side of that defense right there. You see him crushing Henry and allows Donnell to get outside, and he's off to the races. He is not going to be caught. But Jeff Fields doing it on both sides of the football afternoon, and that is one massive man. Not many linebackers can stand up against him.
When you're 6'3", 320 pounds, you can seal a lot of things.
At that time, he sealed everything, Don. He got an excellent block from Fields, Bushy, and his wide receiver Winfield on that play, but Donnell, as you said, atoned for 2 earlier mishaps on those bad handoffs where he fumbled the football, laid it on the ground, gave Ottawa an opportunity. Now he is given that separation of 11 points once again.
Paul Osbaldiston kicking off. Ball mishandled by Sean Daniels, but he does finally pick it up, and then he's dropped at the 37-yard line by P.J. Martin. 9:50 remaining in the ball game. The Ottawa Rough Riders will have to strike quickly.
If we can get a freeze right here, we got Fields. He's going to seal down. You're going to get a kick out. You're going to get Bushy come down, and Donnell is going to come right up in the seam, and he's going to be off to the running. Right here. You see him there. He reads his blocking perfectly. He gets upfield. You get Burbage with the block downfield, and he's a young man off with a stride.
1st and 10 from the 38-yard line. Inside toss to Reggie Barnes. They used this play successfully early in the football game, and Barnes will have close to 10 yards.
Well, what Burgess is trying to do right now is slow down this pass rush of the Ticats, because Bates, Fields, Andrews, and Cofield have been paying him regular visits in the backfield all afternoon, but he is going to have to be patient. He cannot try to go for it all on a regular basis, Don. He has to take what they give him.
Ottawa sends out the short yardage team, 2nd and 1 facing the Rough Riders. Hamilton led 7-0 after 1 quarter. Ottawa, the only points in the 2nd quarter. It was 7-3 at halftime. Both teams scored a touchdown in the 3rd quarter. Hamilton has the only touchdown of the 4th. Reggie Barnes, looking for a first down, was met in the hole head-on by John Moten, but he may have been able to struggle forward for a first down.
You talk about a steady middle linebacker. John Moten has just been that the latter part of the season. He ended the CFL regular season the 2nd leading tackler in the league, but he reads this play perfectly. You see him step up right in the hole, deliver a hit as Barnes gets to the line of scrimmage with an offensive lineman draped all over him. He's still able to stop Barnes right in the hole. It's going to be very close to the first down here, but John Moten doing a fine job roaming the field at that middle linebacker position.
Moten had 84 tackles during regular season play. Only Ray Bernard of Saskatchewan was better with 92.
And one of the 2 teams in the CFL that play that true 4-3 defense, and Bernard and Moten enjoyed fine seasons because of that. Both of those teams have great defensive front fours. You look at Saskatchewan, probably the best, but this one for Hamilton afternoon has had a fine afternoon.
Measurement gives Ottawa a first down. Burgess swings it out to Barnes. The throw was high, and Terry Wright was over defending against Reggie Barnes.
And he reached down in his back pocket and pulled something out and unloaded on Reggie Barnes. But once again, Ramel Andrews was draped all over Tommy Burgess. Tommy Burgess has just had his hands full. Watching right here, he's going to come off the top of your screen, beating Michael Lammy. Boom, Tommy Burgess once again on his backside. Make that Michelle Lammy. Once again on his backside, but Wright gave a crushing shot to Barnes in the flat.
2nd and 10 from the shotgun. Burgess steps up in the pocket to Rob Creefo. First down at the 40.
Burgess complete to Rob Creefo.
A target that you want to look for in a situation like this. Rob Creefo, 6'6" slot back. Going down, finding that soft spot in the zone. Went down, ran a seam route. You'll see him coming up on your right here as Burgess steps up, avoids the rush. No one on him. He found that soft spot, able to pick up a much-needed first down for the Riders.
A University of Toronto product takes it to the 41, 1st and 10. Burgess steps up again, swings it out to Sean Daniels, and Daniels loses the football. Corus Irvin has it.
Fighting for extra yardage, Sean Daniels trying to pick up that first down, fumbled the football.
7:24 is the time left in the Eastern semifinal. One of Ron Smeltzer's concerns coming into this game was how his offensive line would handle Hamilton's pass rush. I think some of his worst fears are being realized here at Ivor Wynn.
Well, if you see Stephen Bates working up top against Lammy, giving all the pressure to Burgess that he can handle, he gets the ball out to Daniels in the flat. Watch Michael O'Shea come up, make the great breakdown on Daniels, strips him of the football as he holds it in one hand. Ottawa right there with Corus, make that Hamilton with Corus Irvin able to come up and recover that fumble to keep them out of the end zone.
First and 10, the ball at the 36-yard line, 7:15 remaining in the football game. Hamilton leading 21-10. Handoff to Dave Donnell, and Donnell makes sure he has both hands securely wrapped around the football.
It's amazing his running style. One play he'll be such a great runner, then the next play we see him come back with that straight-up running style, tiptoeing into the middle of the line of scrimmage. You have to be more consistent, and hopefully he'll gain that as his career progresses. But plays where he looks so marvelous, then he comes back and he struggles.
18,781 watching the game at Ivor Wynn Stadium this afternoon. And wherever you're looking in on the CBC television network, we hope you're enjoying this Eastern semifinal. And we've got more action coming up for you immediately after this one as we swing west. Most of the country will see the game between the Calgary Stampeders and the BC Lions from McMahon Stadium in Calgary. That's one of two Western semifinals. People in northern Alberta and Saskatchewan will see the game between the Eskimos and the Rough Riders. 6:27 remaining. Osbaldiston appears to be okay after limping off the field on his previous punt. Charles Gordon is deep for Ottawa. Bertland Cummings is the short man on this third down kick. It bounces to Gordon at the 29. And Gordon's return takes it up to the 46-yard line, and now there's a skirmish out of bounds right at the Hamilton bench. A 16-yard run back by Gordon. And emotions have been running high most of the day here at Ivor Wynn, but for the most part, the players have been able to control them. 5:59 is the time remaining. Well, cooler heads obviously prevailed over on the sidelines, but it all started after Jim York was hit from behind by Maurice Henry as Charles Gordon, the punt returner, had been taken out of bounds.
And it was an exceptionally late hit because not only was it late, but it was a clip. And it was missed by the officials on that situation, and it caused the altercation on the sideline.
5:52 remaining in the game. Draw play. Barnes up the middle, big hole to the 52 of Hamilton. Stopped there by Michael O'Shea.
He escaped Romel Andrews, who had made that penetration once again in the backfield, and Barnes was able to sidestep him, get ahead of steam going up the midfield before being brought down by the Hamilton Ticat defense. Right now, Tommy Burgess needs to get his team into the end zone if they have any hopes of pulling this one out this afternoon.
Incomplete. Burgess was going over the middle, intended for Stephan Jones, and Jones went high in front of Corus Irvin, but couldn't pull the football down.
Nice strike by Tommy Burgess delivering that ball to Stephan Jones. You see him here working one-on-one against Irvins. This time Irvins with a little tighter coverage. Great break on the ball, able to get that left hand inside and get that ball jarred away from Jones to force an incompletion on the play.
Burgess has completed 20 passes so far this afternoon. He's got his 21st and another first down as James Ellingson takes it to the 40.
You know, looking at Tommy Burgess coming into this game, he has been creeping up the CFL charts in the all-time list. He's the 7th all-time leading passer in CFL history and number 6 on the attempts of all-time CFL passes. But when you look at Tommy Burgess, he has made that move throughout his career without much notification.
He holds the Ottawa club record for completions, 30 in a game early this year against Hamilton. He swings it out to Reggie Barnes, and the touch of irony in that statistic, in that the previous record was shared by Todd Dillon and J.C. Watts at 29.
And, you know, ironically, those three quarterbacks were together on the 1986 Ottawa Rough Riders, along with Gilbert Renfro. They had four of the finest young quarterbacks in the CFL on that 1986 team at the same time. A year later, three of them were gone. Only Dillon was left.
Burgess deep for Jock Climby, and it's knocked down in the end zone by Todd Wiseman, and he's upset because he felt he should have had an interception.
And he was very fortunate on that play that he had turned his back, because he just kicked the ball into the stands, and that's normally a penalty, a 15-yard objectionable conduct penalty, and the officials missed one by Todd Wiseman. You see him coming over on Climby as he got inside of Wilkerson out on the corner. Wiseman playing great center field, but at the end of this play, he takes the ball and kicks it into the stands, and he's very fortunate that the officials missed it.
Very upset with himself at his inability to haul in what appeared to be an interception. John Gregory may share similar feelings. A third down gamble, and Crefo's got a first down and gets all the way down to the 11-yard line before being forced out of bounds.
You know, as often as Rob Crefo has been open this afternoon, you kind of wonder why hasn't Tommy Burgess made him a more of a primary target. It's hard to miss the big fella when he's running out in the flat, 6'6" in stature. I mean, he's as tall as all the offensive linemen, and he has a sure set of hands. They were very happy to get him from the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. You look here, Burgess' offensive line is giving him the time. Crefo has beaten Dawson out in the flat and picks up the first down.
4 catches for 94 yards for Rob Crefo from the 11. First and 10. Burgess, nobody anywhere near the ball in the end zone. He was simply throwing that one away under pressure. Now, it could be that Stephan Jones, the wideout on the right side, may have got mixed up in the type of pattern he was to be running on the play, but it will be 2nd and 10 when we return with 2:59 remaining in the game. Not only is Paul Bushy a hero in the eyes of the Hamilton football fan who was presented with the ball, he is now autographing said football for the same fan.
Well, it's great when you're in the lead and you have enough time to take out and pay tribute to the fans who have come out and supported you all day long. Like I said earlier, a class act in Paul Bushy taking the time out to do that for that fan.
The clock was reset. Ron Smeltzer thought too much time had been taken off. The end zone pass intended for Jock Climby, it's incomplete. It had ticked away to 2:59 remaining, but Smeltzer complained to the officials that it had continued to run after play had been whistled dead, and 5 seconds were placed back in the clock.
Climby was open. He looked back just a step late on Wilkerson inside after Burgess had released the pass. Wilkerson stayed tied up with him past that 5-yard area that you're supposed to release a player, an offensive receiver, and was very fortunate he didn't get a flag.
The game and the season could hinge on this play from the 11-yard line. Into the end zone, incomplete. Intended for Rob Crefo, and Bobby Dawson was all over him right at the goal line.
Well, Rob Crefo looked like he was going to pull that one in. He had the inside position on Bobby Dawson. Burgess had adequate amount of time from his offensive line and delivered a strike right in the chest of Rob Crefo. You see the offensive line doing a fine job. Rob Crefo has the inside position on Dawson. It hit him in the chest, and it actually bounced away prior to Dawson getting there. The pressure gets there late. Jeff Fields, once again, all 320 pounds of him, laying across Tommy Burgess.
2:51 remaining in the game. The Ticats, 1st and 10 from the 11-yard line. The handoff to Dave Donnell. He slipped as he tried to get to the outside of Peter Giftopoulos. Let's take another look at the throw from Burgess to Crefo right at the goal line.
Well, you'll see Crefo coming in from the right of your screen. Tommy Burgess with Jeff Fields in his face, standing in, accepting the pressure. The ball bounces right off of Crefo's chest. Not using his hands, he allowed that slick football to get to his body, and it slid off of that wet jersey, and it cost his team a much-needed touchdown.
2nd and 9. Kenneth Ware up at the 30-yard line has a catch and a first down.
What's been a trouble spot for the Ottawa Rough Riders all afternoon is the inside halfback. That time Cummings allowed Abrera from the left of your screen. You'll see him coming in to get the inside position. Abrera goes down, scoops up under the football, gets both of those hands. You can see the white gloves underneath the football. Makes an excellent reception to keep the drive moving.
2:11 remaining in the game. And the important thing for the Hamilton Ticats is the fact that the clock continues to run with Dave Donnell, the ball carrier, stopped by LeBrant Robinson.
Robinson did an excellent job of meeting that counter trap head on as they were pulling Wallow and Sanderson as they were pulling around the corner, stand at home, making the play on Donnell for a minimal gain on the play. Rob Freefo.
Well, he made the big catch to take them down into scoring position, and then, unfortunately for the big slot back, was unable to finish the job at the goal line.
Well, he knows he let one get away, and no one is more dejected than he is after that play.
Penalty flag. This almost certainly will be holding against the Hamilton Ticats. It appeared as though Dale Sanderson is the player who was guilty of holding. 1:43 remains.
Well, they'll decline the penalty on the play because it forces them to third down.
Hamilton number 56. Penalties declined. It's third down.
So it's third down, and the Ottawa Rough Riders are going to get the ball back. 1:43 is the time showing on the clock.
And the rain is starting to come here at Ivor Wynn Stadium. Osbaldiston, they should come after him on this.
The Ticats taking as much time as possible. Here comes the pressure up the middle. Snipes was going after the block. Osbaldiston got the kick away. Gordon is caught from behind by Lee Knight. And again, Osbaldiston was limping after the 42-yard kick.
Well, you see Snipes coming through cleanly, just within a fingertip of getting to that Osbaldiston kick. He laid out perfectly at the block point. You see Osbaldiston once again anguishing from that knee that looked like he might have hyperextended it on his last punt. You'll see him once again on his follow-through. And as he comes to extend that leg, you can see right there as he snaps it, it overextends, and he's coming back, and he's falling over in anguish. That's going to be a trouble spot for him if they make it to next week's Eastern Final.
Tom Burgess swings it out to Reggie Barnes. Barnes is forced out of bounds by Cora Servant after initially escaping Bobby Dawson.
Well, Don, we're about 10 minutes away from going west to Alberta for the 2 West Division semifinal series. There's McMahon Stadium, baked in sunshine. Looks like a glorious day there for the game between the Stampeders and the BC Lions. And there's Commonwealth Stadium in Edmonton, where the Western Riders take on the Edmonton Eskimos. Of course, the big news there is that Don Matthews is out of hospital and coaching his team today. We reported at the start of this telecast he'd been hospitalized again, but he's out and with his team.
Jamal Andrews is after Burgess, and he managed to swing him to the turf. Burgess threw the football away, and it's being ruled an incomplete pass.
He was very fortunate he had Sean Daniels out in the flat, and it was a proper call made by the officials, but Ramel Andrews, we spoke about him all afternoon, Don. You're seeing here with the pressure right up the middle. They cannot get to him. Ramel putting those big mitts on Tommy Burgess, has him in his grasp, but Sean Daniels, you'll see him close proximity to the football, save Tommy Burgess of a grounding on the football, and it's 3rd and 7, a last-ditch effort right here for the Riders.
Close proximity to the football. Let me clean those glasses for you, James. Over the middle to Reggie Barnes. He won't get the first down.
John Moten, once again, ever present from his middle linebacker position all afternoon, coming up with the big play on Barnes to stop him short of the first down. Whoa, wait a minute, he got a great spot.
And Brett Williams, not dressed for today's game, is really upset with the way they spotted the football. It looked as though he had been stopped a good yard short, But now, with the position of the football,
He picked it
a
up,
measurement
Don.
is required.
He picked it up. He got the first down.
Let me clean those glasses for you, Dick.
No, I'm not worried about them not getting the first down, but the tackle by John Moulton was clearly a yard further back than where the placing of the football was. You'll see right here Barnes slipping through the line of scrimmage, and Moulton comes up, makes a great one-on-one open field tackle, and Barnes reached the ball out of the last field, get a better shot right here. Watch where he goes down. He is behind that hash mark, but yet he ended up a foot and a half in front of it on the placing of the football.
Well, the rain continues to fall at Ivor Wynn, and now the Ticats will simply try and take the final 12 seconds off the clock, or 50 seconds off the clock, I should say, with number 12, Dave Donnell, and he has a gain of about 8 yards. And it looks very much as though the Hamilton Tiger Cats are going to be traveling to Winnipeg Stadium next Sunday in the Eastern Final.
Well, these Ticats can feel very proud about the football game that they've played here this afternoon, especially from a defensive point of view. To hold the Riders in 10 points, they've done a fine job.
Donnell again, and this time he gets to the outside, and he does have a first down. He goes out of bounds at the 27 with only 25 seconds remaining.
You know, tomorrow when the storyline is written about this football game, it's going to be talked about the passing of Todd Dillon, the running of Donnell. But when you look at it, you're going to have to take your hat off to the 4 big guys up front on that defensive line. They have not let Tommy Burgess relax all afternoon. He has thrown every pass this afternoon under pressure. You have to take your hat off to Bates, Andrews, Fields, and Cofield. They've done a marvelous job this afternoon.
Somehow I kind of figured you'd throw a bouquet in the direction of those defensive linemen.
Well, that position has been dear to my heart for a long time, and to see the guys play the way that they did today, and like I said, offenses score points. Defenses win championships, and their defense showed up this afternoon in championship form.
But that's a very accurate assessment of the way things have gone today. The defensive front 4 of the Ticats have been in Tommy Burgess's face all afternoon.
And if you never let a quarterback get comfortable in the pocket where he can find his receivers, and they've just been consistent for 4 quarters. They played 4 quarters of fine defensive football this afternoon, Don.
Still 3 seconds showing on the clock as the Hamilton Ticats are going to move on to the Eastern Final next Sunday against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
And I'll tell you, Don, with the absence of a Matt Dunnigan, and you look at this defensive front of Hamilton, if they can duplicate the performance that they had this afternoon, the Blue Bombers will have their hands full, and they have one of the best offensive lines in the CFL. But these guys today, these big cats are on the prowl.
Well, John Gregory, a former assistant coach with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, will be taking his Ticats to the Manitoba Capital a week today to go up against an old friend, Cal Murphy, the head coach of the Blue Bombers. Let's go down to Scotto.
Jimmy, hey, good luck.
All right, Don, I'm with John Gregory, just receiving congratulations from his counterparts on the Ottawa coaching staff. John, tell me this, does this fix all that was wrong in a 6-12 season for the Ticats?
Well, I tell you what, one of the biggest factors is we got a lot of players back off the injured list, so that when you have good players, that helps. So it's
you're here to say that this is about as good as the Ticats could have been all season.
This is actually this is our football team right here. So we're looking forward to going to Winnipeg, and it's onward and upward.
What about the emergence now of Dave Donnell and Jimmy Yawk on your offense today?
Well, Joey Yawk.
Joey Yawk, pardon me. There's 2 Yawks. One Yawk too many on this team.
Well, Yawk has been doing a good job all year, and David Donnell did the things that we thought he was able to do. He broke some big plays. He's got lots of running ability, and I just look for him to get better.
Quickly, can you look ahead to Winnipeg next week? Or I know you want to enjoy the moment, but hazard an assessment for us on what might transpire in that game for you.
Well, they have great talent, and there's no question. Cal Murphy just does a great job getting great talent. We're going to go over there and do the best we can.
for your time, John. Enjoy the moment.
All right, thanks.
So the Ticats emerge 21-10 victors over Ottawa on the East Division semifinal. Will return to Hamilton in just a moment.